Oko tonight, so you never know what's going to happen.
They still sell those?
Yeah, they were out last week, our last show, so I had to switch to something else, and I still got a little carried away. But no, I found one today on my way home from my hike.
You was a very happy, sensible drunk last week, actually. I'll give you that.
Dude, I stayed in bed all day Tuesday. It was rough.
Yeah, that's definitely the most drunk I've seen you on the podcast for a long time. By the end, you seemed to like you went from like 0 to 100 like in the space of about 10 minutes. It was like 4-hour podcast. You was like great for 3 hours 45 minutes, and then it was like boom, gone.
Once I start giggling, it's over with. I'm done.
Cool. Well, we're live. Well, we should be live on all three. So I'll let you do the intro go if you want. You normally put all the hard work into this, so you know why not.
Welcome to Cata Chat with our homie Subtle, back for the 6th or 7th or 9th or something time. We're here today to talk about some Firelands stuff. Firelands hype is building as the raid gets closer to launch next week. I know I'm excited for it. I did a little bit of PTR. Maybe we can get into a little bit of PTR talk with you, Subtle, if you hopped on there. But we've got some discussion points today with some changes to the legendary weapon, how fast 10 versus 25 is going to be able to get it, the change to the Shaman tier 12 2-set bonus, and a couple of other things. So thanks for joining us. If you have any questions for us during the show, hit us with a super chat. If you're watching the VOD, hit us with a super thanks, comment it, and Scotty will he'll pin the top comment. The highest super thanks will be pinned up top for everybody to check out. So leave us a comment there if you're watching the VOD. Support us while we're live during the show. Give us all your questions. Subtle, he will answer anything that you throw at him. It doesn't matter if it's for healing, tanking, DPS. He knows it all. Trust me. No, but Subtle, thanks for coming back.
Hey, I'm glad to be back. If it's a healing question, I'm honestly just gonna make something up, and hopefully it'll be somewhere in the realm of being correct. But I mean, as a blood DK, we do a lot of healing, so I know a little bit about it, but
more than healers most of the time.
Yeah, good chunk actually.
I mean, if you're a tank, you have to know the healing stuff too, right?
A little bit. I mean, there's like some stuff you got now, right? But
just the cool ones, right?
Man, I haven't played an actual healer since like TBC or Wrath, like OG. Like 15, 18 years ago, whatever. So it's been a minute.
Oh yeah, and like I was saying before we went live, I've got a tank question for you a little bit later on too, since that is your specialty. We got to throw some hard tank questions at you.
Sure. Yeah, tease it early. They gotta stay and
okay. I've got
what
one.
The mystery question is.
Can I go for a super hard question straight away? Because I'm not sure if we've spoke about this, Subtle. I know we did. We've spoke about bloody everything over the times you've been on the podcast, but have we spoke since you leveled a Brewmaster monk in the same guild as me on Stormforge?
No, we haven't.
Oh, good. So, what do you think of Brewmaster monk?
So I liked it. I don't like it as much as kind of where it's gotten to in retail. I like the retail version of Brewmaster more, but it is fun. There are some parts of it that are a little bit cooler, but juggling like all the chi and energy, I didn't like as much as just like getting to kind of spam everything like you do on retail. But I'm a fan. I'll definitely be playing one in MOP. I don't know if it'll be a main, but I'll have one. Definitely be doing challenge modes on it because they seem to be the best for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just mental in challenge modes. See, I'm with you. Obviously, Monk will be my main in MOP forever. You know, it's just any time, and no matter what expansion I'm playing, if Monk's available, that's my main. And I'm on the fence even with Windwalker. You know, retail Windwalker versus MOP Windwalker. They're both similar, but the small nuances are enough to make them very, very different at the same time. But I love Brewmaster Monk, man. Like, Brewmaster is just insane. But the only reason I mentioned it is because I wanted to make sure that you knew that 7th of December, Season 3, yes. Stormforge Season 3.
Yeah.
Good.
I was actually just gonna mention that if you didn't know about that, but yeah, I think a lot of people are gonna be checking that out. It's kind of perfect timing where, you know, we basically have mop confirmed with those like data mined mounts, and this is like a good ways ahead of mop, but you know, enough time that, you know, people are gonna have time to check everything out. It's not as close to release as I think Whitemane did one a couple months before Cata, and it was just so close to release. Like the hype wasn't quite as big because people just left immediately for actual Cata.
Yeah, then this is going to be, like you say, it's the right time length apart, so you can, you know, you can play, like, do phase 1 fairly casually, but still get everything done without having to be like, I need to know life this before, you know, Mark Classic. But yeah, I'm going to be there, mate. So that'll be cool. We'll definitely do some stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, go. Sorry, back to you. I just wanted to. I was on my monk on Stormforge literally. I don't know, a few days ago, and was like, oh, Subtle's in the guild now, is he? Hello, why have I not seen him online for? I don't think you've been on a tour of you for a few weeks.
Oh, it's been a while. I mean, last time I've been leveling a pally like off and on there like the last month, but the Brewmaster I was mainly playing like beginning of August or something like that. So it's been a minute.
Yeah, that's cool. Go.
Yeah, we got to start off with the most hype event I've ever seen in Cata Classic. The servers were crashing. They had to call in extra devs to get them back online. The Day of the Dead holiday event. Let me hear it for this special occasion that we get once a year. Everybody, I'm sure, was super stoked about it like I was, right?
Yeah, I've had this marked on my calendar since it ended last year. So
yeah,
I've been waiting.
You've been waiting at Stranglethorn Vale, waiting for it to start again. I'm sure that's where it is, isn't it? I've not done it for a long time, but
yeah, I've never done it.
I honestly don't remember. Yeah, it's been a while.
Inferno dungeons, I think, is a great place for us to start, Scotty. I've done.
Well, what about, like, ordinarily? I'm all for just jumping straight into the, you know, into the main topics. But do we not want to just quick round the table, just what we've been up to? I mean, what we've been playing. Only because I've got something to say, which I'm going to go last. But I've got something to say that might shock Go in particular. So
I might have heard a little bit about this, but yeah, Subtle, start it off.
So
what
I'm
have you been
pregnant.
up to?
I can't hold it. Oh, no, go on.
It's twins.
For me, I mean, I was telling you guys earlier before we started that all 5 of my Cata raids have been on break, which, I mean, it's the first time every single one of my raids for Classic has been on break. So it just kind of speaks to how long this phase lasted and kind of overstayed its welcome. But yeah, I'm really excited to get back into actual Cata raiding. I mean, next week, a lot of raids are going to be back on, going to get a lot of Firelands in. I think I've actually done more Firelands rating just on PTR than I have of tier 11 since like August. So it's man, it's been rough. As somebody who actually likes Cata and wants to play it, there just hasn't really been stuff happening on it. And yeah, so I've been playing retail as well, really casually on retail. Cleared the heroic raid, gonna start working on the mythic raid, but yeah, Cata Classic with Firelands coming out. I'm very excited for that.
What classes and specs were you in War Within?
I started off, I was going to play every single tank, and I quickly realized that was a major time commitment, and I pretty much just settled on Prot Warrior. I was having a really good time on it. It was good for dungeons, and so I've just been playing Prot Warrior, and it's really, really fun. I love this version of Prot Warrior. There's just so many short cooldowns, and you got, like, when you spend rage, it reduces your cooldowns and stuff like that. So you just get to press all these awesome buttons constantly, and you have, you know, the baseline Prot Warrior kit that's super fun, where you're just jumping all over, zooming around with charge and heroic leap and intercept and everything. So been having a really good time with that.
Any games outside of WoW? Did you dip into like Ashes of Creation or anything like that?
I haven't checked out Ashes of Creation. I checked it out a few years ago when they had like the Alpha 1, but I just haven't really had like the desire for it lately. I've been randomly playing a lot of Warcraft 3 though. There's this RPG map called the Black Road. It's like a Greek mythology, like save load RPG. So you get to, continue your progress and everything. And man, I'm like kind of hooked on that, but not that many people play it. So I mostly have to solo it, but everything's designed for like 8 people. So it takes a long time to solo because you have to like really over level everything. And yeah, so I've just been kind of doing that for fun while I'm waiting on Firelands.
That's cool, though, especially when it looks like at Warcraft Direct there's going to be some announcement around Warcraft 3 as well. I mean, I don't know nothing about Warcraft 3, but it looks like there's going to be some news around it. So, cool. Yeah,
we'll see what happens with that. I heard there might be a little Classic Plus thing coming too, so we'll have to see. I don't know, maybe Scotty's already got a interview on the back burners waiting.
It depends what you class. No, I haven't, but it depends what you class as Classic Plus.
I was just told they're doing some sort of classic thing where they finish some of the zones, like maybe like Grim Batol and Old Doom, all that kind of stuff. But I've not heard anything. I mean, the only thing I would assume around that would be that that's going to be a post Nax sod phase. But if we're talking about a standalone game, I for one sincerely hope that that's not the case. Not because I wouldn't. Yeah. Well, I probably wouldn't play it, but it's not because of that. It's because I don't think the 2 interns that work on the classic team have got enough time to do anything else. They still can't find the button to turn Joyous Journeys back on, for Christ's sake. I mean, right?
Yeah, I hope not.
All the other games seem to suffer when something new comes out. Like Cataclysm very clearly suffered because of SOD. And like they just need more people. I don't know. They're stretched a little too thin. But I would actually like to see a TBC rerun. Even a Wrath rerun I'd already be down for.
Yeah, I think we'll get that personally. In the very near future, I'd be surprised if we don't get a vanilla to Wrath server at least, even if it's just like one server on EU, one on NA, one Oceanic, whatever. Like, yeah, I could see that happening.
Turtle WoW was having some new stuff, and I was gonna play that, which I've never played it. This isn't a sponsor, none of that shit, but they've got some sort of like Karazhan raid, and there was some other raid too. It's like a tier 3.5 is what they're calling the loot from these raids that they're going to come out with. So I've been peeping that. I might fire up that server in the background and play it, but I've been playing SOD mainly for the past couple months. The main raids, not the 40 player that went down to 20, but the 20 that went down to 10, like the world bosses. Those are fun to just hop on, get a pug group, smash that out. ZG came out. I've been doing a lot of ZG, getting some loot. There's so many different set bonuses right now, though. It's kind of hard to choose like what gear I want. It's like, do I want a 6 set of this set and a 3 set from here and a 2 set from this? It's the loot in SOD right now is kind of crazy. It's like if I was just logging on to SOD for the first time since like phase 2, I wouldn't know what to start with, like on how to gear. It's crazy, but it's been fun. It's keeping me engaged. There's always stuff for me to do when I log in, I guess because it takes 30 minutes to fly across the world to get to where I want to go. So it takes a long time for that. But no, SOD's been pretty cool. I've been playing Cata, a lot of Inferno dungeons, and I've started doing my last zone of quests before I do the cloak, the new quest chain that just came out. I've got to finish Vashir. I've been swimming around the past couple of days while I've been watching the show Catfish, and it takes so long to get through that zone. Even as a druid in swim form, just going around, it takes so long, dude. Like everything else, I would have smashed out in like 2 hours for the zone, but this one, I've probably been in there for like 4 or 5, and I might be halfway done. It's been rough, but we've got a 10-man group lined up and ready to go for Firelands. So I've heard I'm getting first staff, which we'll talk a little bit about more later. But hell yeah, staff hype. Let's go.
Yeah, it should be fun.
That's about it for me.
Mine's not that different to Subtle, to be fair. I was playing a lot of retail, but the honeymoon phase of that is kind of over again. I think I probably didn't help myself. I feel like I probably burnt myself out because, like Soul said, he wanted to do all the tanks. I was trying to keep like 3 or 4 characters gear up to date, and I just filling the vault up each week it was tiring. I literally felt like I needed to be online 10 hours a day. It was like, right, I've got to clear heroic raids on all the characters, get delves done on all the characters, get like M plus at least 10 keys done on them to get myth track in the vault. Like, yeah, it just got to a point where it was like, man, I just can't even be arsed with this. What am I doing? So I've been pretty much back just playing Cata constantly again. Like I got a Shaman to 85 ready for Firelands. That's geared. That's like 370 eye level now. Yeah, ready for Firelands. That also is getting the staff. I've been leveling a rogue, which is like 83 nearly, so I'm going to get that to 85. Get that ready to get the daggers. I'm just literally just on the legendary prep. That's like all I'm doing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Stormforge. Like honestly, I've been playing a decent amount on and off stream of season 2. But obviously, it's fairly dead now because, well, yeah, it's right at the end of its life cycle. It's going to be merged with season 1 soon, and but yeah, MUP hype for me. Like, I'm just looking forward to Warcraft Direct on the 13th, and I want to hear it. I want to hear it official. But I am actually I'm going to be starting a mage tomorrow on Season of Discovery as well, which was the thing
that's what I've heard whispers of. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's more. I'm not even saying I'm going to get to 60. Like, no, worry about raiding or anything. But yeah, I kind of, I want something else. I just want something where it's not. Yeah, I'm not going to go hard. Even if I go on it a few hours a week, whatever. Get to 60. There's a couple of us that are doing it. And yeah, just to see what it's about. As in, I've not played since Phase 2. I enjoyed my mage in Phase 1 and Phase 2. I don't think it's gonna grip me the way it's gripped you, Go, but I'm gonna at least give it a crack so I can turn around and say, well, look, I tried again. It's still shit. Sorry. I'm staying with Cata.
Well, the new phase, it looks like it's going to be the same situation for me yet again. Like AQ 40, I have hardly any interest in doing, but like AQ 20, I'll hop on. I'll do all the AQ 20 every day, every lockout. One nice change that they did was they made like the 20-man raids twice weekly, however you word that. So they reset, I think, Saturday morning and Tuesday morning. So it's a set like reset every week, but being able to do the smaller raid twice a week is nice.
Are you going for the Black Karaji War Tank?
They made some changes to where it looks like it's going to be available for everybody to get and do like a quest chain for it.
Oh, really?
It seems weird. I
saw you'd have 2 days to turn it in. They're turning the 8-hour war into like the 48-hour war or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, is it actually? That'd be really crazy.
I think so.
Especially because, like, where do these characters end up later?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's gonna be a huge influx of Scarab Lords somewhere. Yeah,
it is what they need to be careful with, and that's the whole thing around. Even with like Cata Classic, and then eventually MOP, and like where that ends. Like, I've always assumed and always thought all along that when we get to a point in Classic, you'll get the option to move your characters to retail. Like when it gets closer towards retail, it's just a logical thing, isn't it? It's like, right, Classic's done, but you can move your characters onto retail and carry on there. But a lot of people would be really upset with the fact that, after MOP, we've got all these gold challenge mode like sets. We've got, all the mounts, from gold challenge modes, and whatever else. Who knows whatever else between now and then. That's a similar thing, isn't it? If they get the Coraji battle tank, and then it's like, right, you can now move these onto Cata. For example, it's like, you're just going to see everyone riding around on battle tanks that played SOD. It's a tough one, really, when they do stuff like that.
Yeah, on my server, there were, I think, 53 Scarab Lords, so it already felt pretty crazy, but I can't even imagine if there's, like 2,000 coming from a single server.
I saw a Scarab Lord in an Inferno dungeon the other day, and I was like, this guy's a gamer. Like, I didn't even have to look at his DPS. I was like, this guy knows how to play the game. Like, it's got that.
Knows how to farm bugs.
Yeah.
Dude, I still have bug brain from the few days I spent in Silithus farming that. Man, it was my entire screen was just timers, because you had to have like a week aura for like the respawn timer for the bugs. And so my entire screen was just covered in bug timers, and man, it was so mind-numbing. I mean, I'm happy I have the mount, but man, at what cost? My sanity has never recovered.
Cool. I mean, that's me anyway. I just I really am just looking forward to Warcraft Direct. I'm not particularly looking forward to the event. I don't foresee it being the most amazing thing, but I think we're going to get some surprises. Like, genuinely, I think there's going to be some things, because it's got to be quite bold, right? On the basis that it's not a direct replacement for BlizzCon, but it's the only platform that they're going to have for the foreseeable future to make any big announcements. And even if it's just like, look, we are working on this. There's not going to be any release date or anything. It's just like a teaser. I think we're going to get some pretty big things. It's going to be a good time for people like us that play more than just one version of the game. Because as I say, even retail, yes, at the moment I'm like, I've took a step back. I still log on a few times a week. Like I was on it this morning. It's more like the Cata servers are down. I go on retail. That's pretty much it at the moment. But I think we're going to get some good stuff across the board.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. I feel like just the general vibe, like way more people want a fresh TBC than I've seen in a long time. So I kind of think this is their chance to capitalize on that. At least give one server per region. I think that's all you really need, because you can easily get a mega server per region and keep people happy with that, I think.
If they did like a TBC remix and the tunes ended up going to retail, that might give me like a segue to have a retail tune, because I'd play like a TBC remix, but a TBC fresh, I don't know if I would. They'd have to have a lot of announcements on like how that server's going to work. I don't know if that would be too hard for them to even make, to get like a solid, healthy population on it.
See, so I've said all along,
just one server. I was just gonna say, like, as long as it's one server per region, I think they can be super successful with it. Like, have a very, very good pop on each server, like 10K plus probably, at least for a bit. And even like a 5K pop server is pretty solid. So I don't know. And ultimately, I think they just want to add like cash shop things to these sort of things. And what private servers do, I mean, Scotty for sure knows this, is a lot of private servers, they'll have kind of sort of like welcome bundle kind of thing you can buy, where you get like bags and stuff like that to like start you out. And I mean, if they did some pretty frequent like fresh cycles and they could sell something like that, maybe it's more worth their while and we get this stuff more. As much as I hate cash shop stuff, at the end of the day, they want to be able to monetize it, right? So that might be the only way we can consistently get fresh versions of older versions of the game.
See, I think that I 100% agree. I was like briefly just on what you said ago about TBC Remix. It would have to be very different from MOP Remix for me. Like, you know, where it devolved into, you know, trial accounts, capping at level 20 and then boosting, you know, people to 90 and all that. Like, and the cape, it was a cape, wasn't it? For me, it just, I don't know, it weren't for me. You know, if it was a bit more scaled back and actually serious and a bit more focused on end game and not being able to go in and one-shot bosses and stuff, you know, like I would probably be interested. But in terms of what Subtle was saying, like monetizing all these servers, like yes, but I think if they want to keep people in the Warcraft sort of ecosystem, all they need to do is have it as ways to be able to get stuff on whatever version of the game you play, like they did with Mop Remix. You know, Mop Remix, it was like, right, when this ends, we already know what's going on with your characters. When this ends, you're going to take all your mounts, you're going to take all your titles and achievements and everything you've earned onto retail. If they was like, look, we're doing a TBC fresh, if you missed TBC back in the day, you know, this is your chance to be able to get the achievement, you know, on an actual character that you want to use glaives on, if you want to get, you know, all of this. So you already know that, right, cool, okay, when this server finishes, I can either take all these achievements to retail or I can take all these achievements onto Cata or Mop, whatever we're saying at the time. That would get people from both camps going to play it, especially if they done something further down the line, like a Mop seasonal server, where it was a Mop 1 year server, and it's like, people on retail would be all over that, going back to get gold challenge mode gear for transmog. People who, you know, I don't know, just want to go and play Mop because they like Mop would play it. You know, if they had a bit more of a plan rather than fucking just YOLOing things from the start, like, they could build so much hype up and keep people that are playing all different versions of the game playing these seasonal servers, you know, rather than being very like Season of Discovery. No one still knows what's going to happen with any of these characters that people are investing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours into. It's like, well, great, I'm going to do this war effort thing, this 48-hour war effort, and get this mount. When am I ever going to be able to use it? You know, am I going to keep any of this stuff? So I mean, if they actually are a little bit more open from the start on a plan, they could now seasonal servers. You know, I if there was a team, I would go and play a TBC seasonal server if I knew that all of the achievements and everything that I'll earn, all of the reputations I'll earn, will go to Cata, because I didn't do a lot in TBC on NA. Obviously, at that time, I was predominantly playing EU. So like, I look through my achievements all the time, and I'm like, oh, you know, doing all the TBC reputations, going around and doing all the heroic dungeons. I would do that on a TBC server if I knew 100% I'm going to get to take all that to Cata. And that's just one minor thing. Whereas I won't play on a TBC server fresh just for the sake of playing on it, because I don't really want to do that again. But if there was a purpose, do you know what I mean? If there's that carrot, I would be for it.
See, I'm like Zach in chat. Like he
No, you're not like Zach. Go.
I know. I'd never say that, but he's talking about like having things like dual spec in TBC and totems being raid wide. And the one thing that kind of turned me off of TBC, especially towards the end, was the shamans like rotating for lust. Like that was just one of the worst metas as a caster, as a boomkin especially, like getting swapped out of a group so another warlock or mage could take my spot to get the lust buff and then get swapped back. And I'm like, well, I just got nothing. And I had to give my innervate to healers, and I can complain for hours about TBC stuff. So I would need some of those changes like Zach was pointing out over there on Kick.
Yeah, the only thing that do that is that
changes.
Like they need to be careful with that though. I mean, there's loads of things I don't like about TBC raiding. You know, like I agree. You know, I'd probably agree with every change that either of you suggested for TBC. But then there's the crowd that like that. There's the crowd that like, you know, having drums how they were originally. So you was rotating drums. There were, you know, that's part of TBC for those people. That's why they play TBC private servers still, because they want all of that. So I think when you're doing seasonal servers like that, they need to be careful, in my opinion at least. Otherwise, who's going to play it? You're going to get people like me who I don't really want to go and do it again. But then if there was changes, maybe I would go and do it again. But the people that just want TBC for TBC won't now play it. You know, so it's like, who are you actually aiming a TBC server at that point, you know?
I think like the simplest change that pretty much everybody can get behind is just the raid-wide Shaman lust with just the Wrath version of lust, and to compensate for that, increase boss HP a little bit. But like that, I feel like that's kind of the one almost everybody can agree on. It would just be a good change for the game, because there's so much goofy shit that happens with like the groups in TBC, and it would be nice to get rid of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, again, that's what I mean. There wouldn't be many changes you could suggest in TBC that I wouldn't be for. But yeah, cool. I don't know where we went very off topic, didn't we? That was talking about Warcraft Direct, but
we're just going backwards. We're going into Wrath TBC Classic, getting so far from Cata.
Inferno dungeons. Are we ready, Scott?
I suppose so.
All right, let's do it. So I've done all of them except for Throne and SFK. I've only just like randomly queued for it. I haven't specific queued for them, but overall they haven't been that bad. There was a bug in Halls of Origination. That first boss, like after he would start channeling the thing and you would drop down and you'd have to kill the snakes and then click on the things, he would just keep channeling after you ran back up and hit him. That was like the first day, I think. I don't know if that's been fixed because I only had to do that dungeon once so far. But other than that, they felt okay. Bosses last a little bit longer. Was it Dead Mines still was a drag? It took the longest by far out of all of them, but it's been fine. 8-minute queues, I guess, would be my only complaint. As a DPS, I'm sure tank queues are instant.
Yeah. Well, I haven't really been. I've been mostly queuing with full pre-made groups. I get guildies and then I try to get people from chat, stuff like that. So I'm usually queuing with a full group. But they just kind of feel like the week 1 heroics, because we have way more gear now, but everything has more HP and does a little bit more damage. So it kind of just feels like a week 1 heroic with a group that maybe was doing a little less damage. But I'm not a huge fan of the way they decided to implement it. I thought they could have done something. Like we just finished the entirety of Wrath. Each phase they were like iterating on the Heroic Plus system, trying new things. And by the end of it, I feel like the main takeaway was something like Halls of Stone, Halls of Lightning. People really liked that. And if you're going to do this system in the future, lean more into something like that, and not something like Nexus or trying to remember one of the other ones people didn't really like. Maybe like Gundrak, something like that. But like lean into something like Halls of Stone, Halls of Lightning. I don't think we even need a new affix for every single dungeon or split dungeons, whatever. Just one affix for every single dungeon's fine. Just make it something fun like Halls of Stone, Halls of Lightning, and I think we're good. But instead, it's just HP increase, damage increase. It feels weird. They said it was to like let the mechanics actually like play out and stuff. But since we're already going into it really geared, it kind of just ends up being week 1 heroics again, because we have way better gear now and they just have more HP.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest, they probably did have big plans for him. They probably, they've probably got affixes that they was going to put in each one, and then it was like, we've only got 7 minutes to get these done now. What should we do? Oh, just health and damage. Like that'll have to do. Just send it. We'll say we want it to feel like pre-nerf. Like, I mean, come on. It was the worst. It was the worst announcement to go along with it as well. Like the worst reasoning. For me, I'm surprised the health hasn't been nerfed already. Like, genuinely, I'm surprised that they haven't already put it down to 50% instead of 100%. I've been doing loads of them, by the way. Like, I've not just, like when Go said, oh, I've done all of them now except for one. I've done all of them a ridiculous amount of time over the last 3 or 4 days. And they're all right. It's a nice... I'll stand by what I said initially. I said it will be a nice change from just spamming Zolgarb and Zolaman to get Valor caps each week, or if you're gearing an ult. So it's nice to be back in those dungeons again. I do think it is, But man, have you actually been in there with people who need gear? Like it's not, they're not hard. Like I was in there just before I ended up getting a bit tired and needed a nap. I was in there with a group, and if any of you are watching, you've done fantastic. Like, you know, it's great. We cleared it, no wipes, whatever. You know, it was fine. But every boss literally felt like we was doing a raid boss. It was just how long and boring it was. You know, you're talking like a few minutes to kill a 5-man boss. It almost just feels like it's making it longer for the sake of making it longer, but it's not actually made it any more difficult. It's not like, oh yeah, let the mechanics shine. Like, the mechanics are exactly the same, and in most cases, those mechanics, if you never had any gear, they'd one-shot you anyway. You know, use Osrook in it in Stonecore. You know, if you get hit by his like AoE where you get paralyzed and all that, like if you got hit by that while you was gearing up, it one-shot you. Like you died. Most classes would die. Now it's got 25% extra damage. If you get hit by it, you still die. Like, it's not for the mechanics that matter in these dungeons. That extra damage has really made no difference. And the same applies when it goes for geared players. You know, when we was in there doing non-Inferno versions, if you had gear and you could survive those mechanics, that 25% extra damage, you're probably still surviving those mechanics. It's just, it's I don't know. They're very boring in terms of, like, if you was looking for something exciting and new to do. But I mean, it's quite quick, you know, as in to gear up at the same time, even though they feel long. You know, when you do get out of one and it's like, oh cool, I've just got 13 Fisher Stones, I can get a 372 ring straight away, you know, just from doing one. So, you know, you do, they've also got that satisfying element in terms of getting loot. But I don't know, it missed the mark for me. Like, but I'll do them, and like when my rogue gets 85, I'm going to be sitting in them again until I've got everything I need from them. But just a severe lack of creativity.
Yeah, I mean, I've been liking them mainly just because I haven't had anything to do in Cata for so long. It's just nice to finally have something to do. But it's just, I just wish it could have been something a little bit new. I'm sure it'll be like nice, you know, gearing up a new character, but I think 50% health would be fine. Also, like, these things, everything just lives forever, and you're just kind of standing there sometimes, like waiting for things to die, and it feels kind of bad. But yeah, I like, really, it just hurts, you know, less geared or newer players way more, because, you know, they're not going to be doing as much damage and stuff, and they're going to spend 10 minutes fighting like one boss. And I would really hope they take a look at this and they're like, hey, we had this affix we had partially worked on already, we cleaned it up real quick, we, you know, added a little bit to it, didn't quite get as much done on it as we wanted to, but at least here's something. I don't know, it would be nice to have something.
I've also not, like, you know, I laugh and joke on stream, obviously, but I'm not toxic. You know, like, I understand why people are in there. I don't care. Like, if I get in a random and there's someone doing 10k DPS, like, it's annoying, because it's like, great, like, these bosses are going to take ages. But I also get, yeah, you know, these people need gear. But I've never seen so many people getting voted to kick. Like, I've honestly, in all of Cata, this is the most I've seen it, where literally you'll be halfway through a boss fight and it will pop up saying you want to kick him, and the reason for kicking him will be dog shit or something like that. You know, it will just be like the tank getting bored and they're just like, let's just kick all shit DPS. Like, it's kind of, it's a little bit bad, actually.
Dude, it swings both ways too, because like early in Cata, when we were doing heroics, I saw people, you know, trying to vote kick like all the time, and sometimes it was me they were trying to vote kick because I was pulling too quickly, and it's just like absurd. Like, people are mad that you're doing the dungeon too fast and they try to kick you. It's like, I mean, like, I'm a blood DK, I can literally solo the dungeon. You're just here to make it go faster. That's it. Like, and they're trying to kick you just because you're doing the dungeon fast.
Yeah, the one vote to kick I had was in BR, what is it, Blackrock Cat, BRC. we got to the second boss with like the 3 beams, and the tank was soaking the middle beam and wouldn't move out, and would just transform into the big mob, and then we would wipe, and it happened twice, and then the vote to kick goes out, and I was like, I'm gonna give him one more try, and let's see where it goes. And maybe he learned after the first 2 tries, and we killed it the 3rd try, and we kept on going and finished the dungeon. So I was anti-toxic for that. So I'm
well done,
proud of
well
that.
done.
Yeah, I couldn't kick a tank.
Yeah, but I like it. See, like, you know, from my perspective when I'm streaming, I like there being someone really shit in the group to make me look better. No, not to make me. I like it because it's great watching them people do the most ridiculous things. You know, like I was going, well, not mental, but you know, I'm doing the middle beam. I like an example on that boss. I was doing the middle beam, and quite clearly just doing the middle beam, and there was a ret paladin who was already really doing no damage whatsoever, and occasionally you could tell he's like, better make it look like I'm doing mechanics, and he'd randomly just walk over in front of me and block the beam, and it's like, you can literally see me standing here, you know. But that was nice because it gave me someone to complain about for 25 minutes and took my mind off of the fact that the dungeons are shit.
That's content. That's just content.
Yeah, my same tank kept going into the, like, he knew the one boss that you have to step into the molten lava or molten whatever to clear the shield. I'm terrible with explaining bosses, but you guys know what I'm talking about.
You definitely are.
Yeah.
He would go in there for like 2 buffs, and then he'd be out, and then he would let the buffs fall, and then go back in and get another 2 stack and go back out.
Man.
And I was like, maybe I should have kicked this guy. Like, but he knew the mechanic, just didn't know how to min max it. So I was like,
Yeah, a lot of times people will like get mad too if you like give them advice sometimes too. It's hard over text because, you know, you can say something and the way they read it is, you know, completely different than the way you meant it. But I mean,
when you're calling him a
like
prick.
to the point. I mean, I'll just like, you know, help people out, try to like explain what they did wrong and what, you know, what they can do better next time. And like sometimes they just freak the fuck out. It's crazy. Like I'm just trying to help them out, and I don't know, people are just so sensitive about somebody just correcting some little thing they did. And
so now you help him out by showing him out. You vote to kick him instead. It's like, well, he's clearly not going to accept my help. Goodbye.
I just do the run. I almost never vote kick people unless it's like really egregious. I just finish the run, leave the group, get somebody else. That's it.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm terrible on the basis, like I'm terrible, but like without trying to be. So I never like vote to kick people, as in initiate the vote. But if I'm fighting and it pops up on my screen, I just want it gone. So I just instantly click yes. I've helped kick people that I've queued with, as in people from the guild, where I've just not read it. I'm just like, oh, just get off my screen, like, you know. And it's like, oh, Stark's gone. Where's Stark gone? Oh, he got kicked. But yeah, I mean, I think overall the around the table and even in chat, it seems pretty. Sorry, Zach's in chat saying you've kicked me so many times. I mean, that's true. It's kind of unanimous that it boring, but like, you know, in terms of creativity from you know the devs, but the reward at the end of it is kind of what we expected.
Yeah, the rewards are sick. Like, they're crazy. To get a 379 cloak, it's 80 of the stones. That was kind of a shocker for me when I went to go look through the loot after I had gotten Valor capped. I was like, okay, what can I spend this stuff on? And I was like, let me look at the cloak. I need a cloak upgrade. Oh, 80, fuck, what? But crazy that we can actually get that loot from there.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting Sinestro loot. That was surprising.
Yeah.
Which was actually kind of a welcome surprise because a lot of my characters were missing a couple Sinestro pieces. So I'm going to be farming them a lot, just trying to get those before Firelands myself.
So the one thing I would say, which I actually meant to mention in a video today, to be fair, but I completely forgot about it until we've just started talking, is it would be nice to actually see them put council gear on there as well, just specifically council, even if it was just the offhand I believe tank gloves as well from Council. Is that right, Subtle?
Yeah, there's gravitational pull, the mastery expertise ones.
Yeah, so mainly because they've gone with like they've put the loot on from the hard bosses that guilds struggle with, being Neff and Sinestra. I kind of feel like putting Council on there as well, like, would make sense. Because even people who can kill Council skip Council. There's still loads. I went and done a GDKP today where it was like, 12 or 13 heroic, and it was just like no Council. I think there's one pull. One pull on Council, someone got hit by a frostbomb. It was like, no, we're doing it on normal. Carry on. Like, it's just a severe lack of heroic Council kills. So
I actually haven't seen, did they nerf tier 11 raids going into Firelands for Classic?
Oh, I don't know about for Classic. Well, they haven't said that they're going to, but historically it was never nerfed.
Oh, I thought they had like thrown some nerfs in there. Did they not?
No, only the ones we've got.
Firelands nerfs?
Well, there was major Firelands.
Okay.
Yeah, major Firelands.
Sorry, I mean tier 11 nerfs during like when Firelands came out. I thought there had been some
only
when we talked
normal.
about the okay, because when we talked about like the pre-nerf post-nerf stuff at the beginning of tier 11, I thought there was discussion about during Firelands there were like further nerfs, and we had the version that was between that and what the original version was, but I could be misremembering it.
Yeah, during Firelands, normal got nerfed by 20%, but heroic was never touched. That's why when Firelands got nerfed, people was complaining all over MMO Champion. You literally can go and find them threads now. If you put like Firelands nerfs on like just Google it and look for MMO Champion, you'll see people complaining that when the Firelands nerfs came in before Dragon Soul, tier 11 was harder than Firelands. Like months and months into the expansion. Dragon Soul was about 2 months out, and people could clear Firelands but still not kill Neff. Well, when I say clear Firelands, including Rag, Rag was still a wall for most people. But
yeah, I mean, on the first PTR, we actually saw that version of Firelands too. The second and third PTR, we had the actual like OG original difficulties. Obviously missing like things like Magma Geyser, but for the most part. That first PTR, it did really just feel like we had more tier 11 bosses. So yeah, it kind of tracks. And then obviously things like Rhyolith were kind of just easier than anything in tier 11.
Yeah, and what about afterwards? So just while you're talking about that, like you said, you'd done loads on the PTR. Like, what was your general experience from the PTR?
So first PTR, it was definitely way too easy. Like, it just felt like you had more bosses from the same raid tier. It didn't feel like that step up in difficulty that you normally get going to a new raid. But PTR 2 and 3, difficulty is definitely solid. I think you feel like you're doing a new raid tier. I mean, it's only a 7-boss raid, which is kind of unfortunate, but obviously Rhyolith is still kind of just an easy one-shot, even for a lot of groups that have never done it before, probably. So that one is a bit goofy. It's just kind of a throwaway fight, which kind of sucks because it's already a 7-boss raid, and then you have a boss that's just that easy. And then like Shanox, I mean, it'll take people like a few pulls, but it shouldn't be too much difficulty. Alyssa Resort and Beth Talag, they felt pretty good. I think those are gonna feel probably like mid to higher ends like pull counts for like tier 11 bosses. And then Domo was crazy. The Balerock though, Balerock probably harder than anything in tier 11, I think. If not, it's up there with the hardest things. And then Rag, significantly harder than anything in tier 11. Not quite as hard as 0% Heroic Lich King, but definitely moving toward that direction, which is, a big step up from anything in tier 11. But overall, very happy with the difficulty.
We were doing some comparisons last show with Squirrely about 0% Lich King versus Council and was it BOT? I don't even know what raid Council's in. And Beth Talak and Ragnaros. Like what order would you put 0% Lich King, Rag, Council, and Beth'Telak on difficulty? Like which hardest to easiest?
Hardest, easiest. Okay, their percentage is like clear number one. Sorry, what were the other ones? Council, Beth'Telak, and
Ragnaros.
Rag definitely number two. Not quite 0% HLK, but fairly close. And then Beth'Telak or Council. I mean, honestly, they're kind of close. Like the thing with Council is one person can just wipe you instantly, which really sucks. So I mean that always kind of throws a wrench in it, because if you just have a few people in your raid that are gonna fail that mechanic every single time, and your raid's not doing that much damage, so you're seeing that mechanic more times than other raids, you just have a really high chance to fail the fight, like guaranteed. So like Beth'Telak doesn't really have that. Like there's no like major raid wipe thing. You will probably have some issues with the DPS check though if people are dying to random stuff, so there's like that level of personal responsibility, but there's no like thing like Frozen Orb where it's like, oh, it's over, every bitch is dead. So I do feel like Beth'Telak is a little bit harder fight, but Council has that wrench where it's just like, oh, this mechanic could just insta kill you. So yeah, I would go. I'd go Beth'Telak then Council, I guess. After that,
yeah, count depending on your if you've got a raid comp with some weaker people in, a few people, you're just pulling the boss, waiting for that attempt where they don't get mechanics on them. That's it.
Yeah,
you're just and everybody knows who them guys are, where it's like, God, I hope he doesn't get that on him, and then it goes on him and you're like, oh God, like please someone grip him, like just someone do something.
And then you hear their excuse, oh, the tornado knocked me into. No, it didn't. I was watching you. It didn't.
Yeah, or just quickly pull the power cord out of the PC. They're like, oh, what, frost orb on me? Oh sorry, DC. Like, it's safer. But no, yeah, everything you said there, Subtle, like, I would. That's the general difficulty of tier 12 and what I would expect. I didn't really do much PTR. We was gonna go and do the second round of PTR. We actually was like, right, let's just go in. Obviously, the majority of our group has raided on White Mane, so we weren't really that fussed. It was like, well, whatever, even if it takes us 2 nights, to get it clear, like whatever, we'll do all of our progress live, rather than going on the PTR. But we did then go, actually, fuck it, let's do one night. So we picked Friday night, 9 o'clock our time, I think it was. We was all like hyped. It was like, yeah, let's get in there. And we didn't look at the end time of the PTR, and it ended an hour before our raid was meant to start. So that plan kind of went out the window. But we went on there during the second PTR anyway, and just tried some private server strats. Like the ledge, which we had absolutely zero success with. But obviously, I've seen your videos. I know you did, but for whatever reason, it wasn't working for us. So we just then went to doing it just normal, just in the middle of the room. Like, it's not exactly hard anyway, is it? And yeah, the general checked the list resort out, but when we done it, it was bugged, so you couldn't get rid of the bleed. Like, I'm looking forward to it. But as I say, for me personally, the only real fight is Rag in there. Like, the one, like if you're clearing 13 or 13 heroic, and you was doing 13 or 13 heroic, in the first week or two in your raid team, I think it's pretty safe to say that you're going to be getting to Rag in a decent amount of time. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if like you've only just got 13 or 13 heroic because you needed 372 eye level to be able to kill the harder bosses, then you might struggle with things like Beth'Telak, Balrog, a little bit more than others. Because I think that's the crazy thing, isn't it? With tier 11, when you're seeing, like, I'm in a casual guild that raids. They're not. I mean, they probably don't like to be labelled as casual, but I consider them casual. That I do 25 man with. Obviously, we've got our 10 man group, which is our like private server group. That we push hard on. But then I raid 25 man, and it blows my mind that, you know, we was clearing this content week 1 in 359 gear, and you've got 25 people in 372 gear and still can't one-shot Magmor and, you know, still wipe on Omnitron, and it's like, it honestly blows my mind. And that's why I like going to that raid, because I find it more comical than, you know, it's entertaining. I find it's peak entertainment for me.
Definitely good content, yeah. I should mention too, almost all my PTR I was doing 25 man. So anything I say, I'm pretty much always coming from the 25 man perspective. I did a little bit of 10 man. I did like Shanox, Beth, Alistar, Rylith. Those ones all seemed pretty similar between 10 and 25 man. But from what I had heard, Balerock was significantly easier on 10 man, and also Rag was significantly easier on 10 man. So when I'm talking about Balerock and Rag difficulty, just know I'm talking about 25 man specifically. But yeah, Balerock, I feel like he's harder than anything in tier 11 probably. It is really fun as a tank too, because we finally have a hard-hitting boss. We haven't had that the entire expansion so far. There's been bosses that hit a little bit harder than the other ones, but we haven't had one of those true tank buster bosses like an Algalon, a Heroic Lich King kind of type boss. So it's definitely cool. As a tank, you always want to have at least one of those bosses where they just hit you crazy hard. You have to kind of min-max your survivability. And you can't just, you know, wear your full damage set, which is what we've done the entirety of tier 11. And like, it is fun for sure. But there's that other side of tanking where you really want to, you know, play around with your survivability and min-max that stuff. So it's very cool because, like, this is a boss where I've literally died from 80% HP if I didn't have a cooldown up instantly. So like you just fall over sometimes because his he dual wields in his main hand attack. Its low end damage is about half of what its top end damage is, maybe like 60% of what its top end damage is. So you essentially get like crit sometimes if he just high rolls and does like the higher end of his swing range. So it like you'll kind of get in a rhythm of like how much damage you're taking as a tank. And on that fight, it's just so sporadic. Like you never really get that rhythm. Like you just sort of always feel like you could die at any time. And it's just a fun fight to, you know, min-max that survivability. So anybody who's a tank, that's kind of the big fight to look forward to where you can really kind of shine.
I think it's a really fun fight to heal as well, to be honest with you. It's especially as like a Holy Pally, just getting massive high stacks and just seeing big numbers. Like I like healing that fight. But I can see like why people would say that that's easier on 10 man and 25, and it's probably less to do with the tanking and more to do with you've got a lot more room and a lot less problems with a debuff. You know, it's a lot easier to organize because there's really mechanically it's not really that hard of a boss, is it? You know, there's not but it's more people being able to think on the fly and communicate on the fly. Where when you've only got a group of, well, not even 10, is it really? When you take tanks out, you know, I'd say that's probably why people will have an easier time on 10 man to begin with, at least.
So Subtle, what are your plans for Firelands? Are you going to be getting any rep runs in before you go in there to try to get some like reputation loot or some PoE drops to have to immediately upgrade with your crystallized firestones, or are you just trying to go in there as soon as the raids open up to try to get 7 out of 7 ASAP?
Yeah, we're just going right in when it launches and kind of staying in there till we kill everything is the plan. We cleared everything except Rag on PTR. We didn't quite kill him. We got to the final phase a few times, but so yeah, we haven't actually cleared everything. We're gonna have to prog a little bit on live, but I'm pretty confident with the extra gear and everything, and just having, you know, seen the fight, refined our strats and everything, we should be able to get done on day one.
So for PTR, you guys didn't go to the vendor and get like all the best in slot loot? Like you kind of just copied your characters and did it that way?
Yeah, we just also from what I recall, they didn't actually have those vendors in until after the raid testing finished. Like when they put those vendors up that had the tier sets and everything, I believe that didn't happen until after the PTR, the testing for the raid finished. So we didn't actually even have that option, I don't think. But yeah, we were just doing it in our tier 11 gear. And yeah, so I mean, this time around, it should feel pretty easy when everybody's equipping all that 391 gear. They've got some of that new Valor gear, all that stuff, some of the crafted gear maybe. So yeah, I'm confident we'll get it day one, but it is unfortunate like going into day one without actually having killed it already, but we're right there. I think we'll get it pretty quickly.
Cool. Yeah, so that's Inferno dungeons. I never expect to stay on topic, let's be honest. Where do you want to go next? Go.
A couple of things that we didn't really mention, because I don't know if they were even announced until their post the other day. The guild events and guild finder have been added to the guild UI. The guild event sounds neat. The guild finder, I don't know how useful that really is, but that's an option that they added for us. And then there's the transmogrification outfit system has the option to save pre-selected transmog configurations. And that's pretty huge. Like I like that for a nice little change, a quality of life change. Because right now, while I'm PvPing, I forgot to mention that earlier. I've been doing a little bit of PvP, just like Battlegrounds, to upgrade my PvP set. It's only 1650 honor to upgrade a lot of pieces from my PvP set from season 11. I don't even know what season 9, whatever the Firelands or whatever the tier 11 season was. So I've been battlegrounding and getting honor and upgrading that. So if I could just have some way to immediately have something saved to transmog it again, then that'd be nice.
I mean, Guild Finder's useful for if you want to invite yourself to the guild. You know, like if you apply to the guild on your role and then you log your main and accept it to invite them. I mean, that's what I find it useful for personally. Even though that's not really the key thing that I should be taking away from that. But yeah, for anyone who plays retail, you know what I'm talking about. All right, cool.
That's a good idea. I hadn't even thought of that. I do really love the transmog thing though. Having played retail a bit recently, it's nice. Every time you get an upgrade, you just go there, boom, you press the button, it remogs your stuff for you. So don't have to spend all that time looking for everything each time.
Yeah, that is good. And there's a lot of little things like that they could take inspiration from retail from, which I do think we'll see more and more of it, to be honest, as we go through these expansions. We've only got two. What time is it? 12:20 my time. We've only got two really big ones to talk about. And as we've been talking about the raid, I suppose starting with Dragonwrath is probably the best place to start. And as we've got two people, being me and Go, that's going to be doing 10 man. I'm going to be doing 10 and 25, and Subtle, you're going to be predominantly doing 25. Obviously, I've made my thoughts on this really clear in multiple videos now, so I'll kind of go last. But what's your thoughts on what they've done with the acquisition, Subtle?
Sorry, I missed that. Could you repeat that? I was reading chat.
Oh, it's all right. So, like, what are your thoughts on Dragonwrath, like the second round?
Oh, Dragonwrath. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really good. Like in these sped up versions of the game, like you should expedite the loot process a little bit. It just makes sense. Like people want to raid to get loot. Like if you're doing a quicker release of everything, obviously give the loot a little bit quicker. And especially legendaries, those are things that can bring people back. If it's so rare that it feels unobtainable, then fewer people are gonna like be interested in coming back to like possibly get one. But with the rate they're talking about, I think it was 3 to 4.5 for 10 man and 4 to 6 for 25 man over a 12-week period. Like that's a lot. That's a lot of legendaries. So I think that we'll get, maybe some people who weren't planning to come back. They might end up coming back just because of that, because an entire 10 man, basically all staff users in a 10 man are going to get the legendary, unless you have a pretty wild comp. So I think it's a really good incentive to bring people back.
What do you think about the amount that you can make? So, between 10 and 25, do you think the 4 to 6 in 25 and 3 to... I hate the 3 to 4.5. Why don't I just say 3 to 4? I mean, who's making good use of half a staff? Do you know what I mean? Like, just say 3 to 4. What are your thoughts around that? Because that's like the biggest point of contention, right? That's where the first round of changes went out, and they said, look, this is, I think it was like 4.5 to 6 weeks before 25 man make their first staff, and then it was like 9 to 12 weeks for 10 man. So that was kind of like a bit of a joke, the massive difference between them. And then they've come out with this instead. As a 25 man raider predominantly. How's your raid team feel about it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know how my raid team feels about it, but how I personally feel about it is 25 man should always get more, loot per person than 10 man, just because of the logistics that go into forming a 25 man raid. There should always be a greater reward from doing the 25 man than doing a 10 man, because it's just harder to put together baseline. And then when you throw in the fact that Firelands itself is actually just an easier raid on 10 man too, on top of just, the logistical differences between 10 and 25 man, then if you can make more legendaries in an easier version of the raid that's just easier to put together because you need fewer players, that doesn't sound right to me. It should be the complete opposite. So I would like to see them significantly buff the amount you can get on 25 man. I don't think they really need to like nerf the 10 man side of it so much. Like maybe three stabs seems fine to me, honestly, for a 10 man. So maybe the low end on there is fine. Maybe they can nerf the high end, but the 25 man should give way more stabs, because it just makes more sense to send your casters to a 10 man to get stabs if you want like way more going into Dragon Soul.
Okay, I'll give my thoughts around it all, as I say, at the end, because I don't want to lead the conversation too much, because, as I say, I've been very vocal about it anyway. Elsewhere, so go. What's your thoughts?
I was thinking about it a little bit while I was hiking today, and I haven't looked up how to get the staff completely, so I don't know like what drops you need and how long the quest takes to complete, but I'm fine with 25 being like getting twice as many staffs as the 10, because as long as it's not beneficial for a 25 to split into two 10-man groups, I'm cool, because 10-man groups aren't going to try to like get another raid team and a half together to try to get staffs faster that way. So I'm like 3, like what they have now seems fine for like our 10-man group that we're going to have. If we get 3 in a 12-week period, then that's fine. But what I'm kind of hung up on is it's saying 10-player raid killing all 7 bosses. So to me, like, how is that going to look for the more casual guilds that aren't going to be able to kill Bethalak Ragnaros like week 1? They're only gonna, their prog is gonna be like 4 out of 7 like normal week 1 or something like that. So I don't know how casual friendly it is, but for players like us, it seems fair. I'm just trying to think of the average player, the average guild. how many stabs are they really going to get to go into the final tier? Are they only going to get one, maybe two? Like, how slow is that process?
Well, I think for the average, I think the average guild will be able to do 6 bosses. You know, if we're saying average, like, you know, average is actually pretty good nowadays. Do you know what I mean? An average guild will be doing, and I'm really sorry in chat if one of you is about to go, oh, you're calling my guild average. But, you know, an average guild is probably doing, you know, 10 plus heroic in tier 11 now. You know, or 9. Let's say 9. You know, an average guild will be able to do, you know, the average is so much higher than it used to be. That's what I'm saying. It's not like, oh, an average guild's only going to be able to do 3 or 4 bosses. Very low, like, you know, proper dad guilds who raid for about 20 minutes a week. Like, you know, they're probably going to struggle. But I think your average guild that raids for a few hours, a couple of days a week, should easily be doing 6 or 7. Like 6 or 7 normal. I'm not saying heroic, like throw them out. Yeah. I think even on normal, the only boss that's going to cause normal raid groups any amazing challenge is going to be Rag. The thing that they've not been very clear about is there any difference between normal and heroic? So is there? Yeah, you know, it just says if you're killing all 7 bosses on 10 man or all 7 bosses on 25. Because I'm not being funny, you know, if it, like, I don't know, if it was something like we was doing an alt run and it was just to get someone a staff, you know, like, you could just smash through 7 bosses on normal in, I don't know, 30 minutes, 35 minutes, and be making another 3 staves over 12 weeks for literally minimal effort. That's where where it's not very clear. I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong. Like, you know, I don't really care, if I'm honest, if people want to do that. But I would have expected the heroic bosses to make the acquisition a little bit quicker. But I don't know.
So, Scotty, were you saying people can make, like, maybe it's only in 25 that you can make multiple staffs at the same time?
No, in both.
I know
in both.
Staves is right.
You can in both, because it's like different quest steps that need different items from the bosses. So different people are on different steps of the quest at the same time.
Because back in TBC, there was some guild drama where glaives was an issue. Like, who was getting the next glaive? And somebody, like, lost their glaive prio, and they G-quit, server transferred, faction changed to prep for Wrath. And it's like, so as long as there's, you know, multiple people can get it at the same time, like, at least start their progress on it. I like that aspect of it.
Yeah, it's so nice. It's nice that you'll feel like you're actually getting somewhere with it very quickly. So, like, I'll use my 10 man that, like, is like me, Nolty, Lee, all that, like the EU 10 man. You know, there's 3 of us realistically in the group that's going to be getting it. But, you know, within 2 weeks, the second person, like, the second reset, towards the end of the second reset, more than likely on 10 man, they're already going to be working on their legendary staff. You know, it don't feel punishing. It's not like, oh, I got to sit and watch this guy do all of these quests and make his staff, and then I can start. It's like, no, literally, you know, you got to wait for that first person to get started, then the second person's getting started after 2 weeks, and you know, it's gonna feel nice. Again, like, between normal and heroic, I don't know if there is going to be a difference. I kind of hope there's not, but it would be like you'd have to be mental, right, to not do a normal alt run each week just for fun. Just get the boys on Discord and go and do a normal alt run. Don't even waste time like worrying about killing heroic bosses. Just get on for half hour and just smash it, because being able to just get like take your main raid team, for example. You know, we've got Lee, who you know, he's going to be tanking, but I know for a fact he wants to staff on his mage. I'd love to just do a normal each week, like full normal clear each week, so you know he can be rewarded, he can get the staff on his account. And I think like that's such an easy way to do it. So yeah, I kind of hope the difficulties don't vary. The one thing I will say is what everyone's fixated on which I've had literally so many DMs about Dragonwrath. but both times they announced the changes, is people fixating on the high and the low, for each of the raid sizes. So 10 man 3 to 4.5. 0.5 means absolutely fuck all. Like it literally means nothing. If you was to say on average a 10 man will make 3, because you on average it'd be 3.75, but it's still just 3 over 12 weeks. And on average 25 is going to make 5. That is not enough for 25 man. Like I made it very clear in a video that I'm on the fence. I was very much on the fence. It's like I want everyone to enjoy it. I want, it's going to be great to see everyone who wants a staff be able to get a staff, because it's only like 3-4 months tops where it's even like it's going to matter. You're going to go in Dragon Soul, you're going to blast Dragon Soul, and now nothing matters, does it? We're then just literally in the mop waiting room. So it's not like I don't want to see fun or these big items that people want to play with being gatekept too much. But the biggest issue with the first changes was not about the number of staves that were being made. It was the amount of time difference between the two. Surely universally across the entire like classic community, everyone understands that 25 man should get more staves than a 10 man. Like if anybody's like, well, no, we should get the same. Like, yeah, obviously you're mental, because there's more people that need the staves. So yes, of course, 25 should get more, but but it shouldn't be quicker. It is my point. It shouldn't be quicker in time. They should just get more. So like a 10 man shouldn't have to wait 3 months before they see their first staff, while 25 man's made 5 or 6 in that time. That's not fun to then be part of a 10 man. So I think if they was to make one more change and base it off of their 10 man numbers, I think everybody would agree that the 10 man numbers are right. Over 3 months, all of your casters that are relevant are gonna be able to get a staff before Dragon Soul. You might have 2 caster DPS and a Disc Priest, or you might have a Resto Druid, and you're gonna give it to the Resto Druid for when he goes boomy or whatever. But 25 man literally just need double. That's it. It's same amount of time. So over 12 weeks, 10 man are still going to make 3 to 4.5, but you're now going to have 25 man making 10 as an average. Up to let's say 12. That's what they need to do. They literally need to not double the loot drops, so 25 man can now all of a sudden make a staff in the first 2 weeks. They need to be making 2 staves at a time. So 10 man make their first staff. When 10 man have made their first staff, the 25 man that's clearing exactly the same content, but in 25 man, they've now made 2 staves. That's what I personally would like to see, because then I don't think it's punishing either way. 25 man's still the preferable raid size to be in, outside of the fact that you're getting 2 staves at a time instead of 1. 25 man we know is just easier to get gear. Irrespective of, I'm not talking raid difficulty now, I'm talking the amount of loot drops you get, the amount of opportunity that you get to see those big ticket items where, you've 10 mans, you're lucky if you've seen 1 ash candy, whereas 25 man might see 1 or 2 every week. There's that. That's a big incentive to do 25 man over 10, which is the reason the majority of, serious guilds do 25 man. So that big incentive still there. I just think, they need to be making a few more staves. Obviously, you feel free to then chime in on that, but that's just my thoughts.
Well, Subtle, do you know what your raid comp is going to be going into Firelands, and how many classes are looking for getting the staff? Is it like 6? Is it 8? Like how many? I guess what is it? Warlock, Mage, Boomkin, Shaman, Priest. But Priest would be last. Well, do Shadow Priest want it too? I guess.
Oh, yeah. I think everybody wants it. Yeah.
Anyone who can equip it.
I forgot about Shadow Priest. Yeah. Poor Priest.
Yeah. I mean, going into Firelands, we're probably gonna have, I don't know, 6 or 7 people that could use it, but that's not really the important part. The important part's what you're gonna have going into Dragon Soul, because it's gonna be a different raid comp than what you're going in week 1 of Firelands with. So I don't know what our raid comp's gonna look like at that point. it may be more caster heavy, especially because of the fact that Dragonwrath now exists, and that elevates them above other options. So I can't say for sure how many we're going to go into Dragon Soul with, but I would imagine it's definitely going to be more than what we're going into Firelands with. And as far as like you were talking, Scott, about making it not making it quicker to get, but or making it quicker to get, but not getting more drops. How exactly are you like thinking that would work? Because to me, it's just like more drops is quicker. That's how you make that happen.
Well, so this is not perfect, but I was thinking about this earlier. So how like our 20, they would have to add one more. Well, they'd have to add 3 more technically. Let's say currencies. But you would have to have it as like, Eternal Embers 1 and Eternal Embers 2, for example, and they're unique. You can only have 1 or 2, and then in 25 man, you'll get a stack of 1s drop and a stack of 2s drop, and that's it. So you can't now funnel both lots into one person because they're unique. So that would just be the way that they could ensure that you're not speeding it up in terms of time. You're just making 2 staves, 2 staves at a time. I couldn't really think of another logical way to do it without actually just adding that, adding that extra step for Blizzard, where it would have to be the same currency, but just 2 separate ones, if you know what I mean. One of you might have a better idea. The whole point would just to be keep it so one person can't take both.
You make it capped for the week, so you could potentially funnel it to one person for the first couple of bosses, but then the second person could still get their cap from the second half of the raid, or you could split it 1-to-1, so you wouldn't have to have like a 1 and a 2, if that makes sense.
That's a good idea as well. Yeah, that's a good idea as well. Yeah.
I think that's the simplest way to do it.
I'm glad you guys agreed, because I'm a 4 loco in a couple of years.
No, I think you're. Yeah, you're cooking. I think that's the simplest way. You just make a cap, right? We have the Valor cap already. You just make a whatever the currencies are, embers, cinders, and essences. Just make a weekly cap for each of those. Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason I actually think that's a better way as well is because then, let's say if somebody, I don't know, you're working on the staff, but for some reason you're limited on time, and you're like, guys, I've only got half hour tonight. You can give the first couple of bosses of embers to that guy before you replace him. I know, it's going to be a rare situation, but it does actually create a bit of flexibility as well that way. So, yeah. Again, for me, how they do it, I couldn't care less. Like, if they came up with a creative way of doing it. But what I don't want them doing is now going, how would that work for staff 3 and 4? It'd be exactly the same. If each player, it was just a cap that was built into the characters that they can only receive that amount of that currency per week, it doesn't matter whether you're building staff 1 or staff 10, does it? That's why it makes it very, very easy doing it, like Go said, actually. But yeah, I don't care how they do it,
Scotty.
Well, when you actually come up with a banger now and again, I like to make sure everyone knows.
My 1 a night, yeah.
1 a night? Fuck me, 1 a year.
And I'm deflated again.
Yeah, okay. Fucking slap him straight back down. I don't care how they do it. Honestly, I just what I don't want to see him do is listen to all the noise about 25 mans are going to split down into 10s, which is for, like Subtle said, it's absolutely an understandable thing to think about doing or just doing it, because 10 man certain bosses are easier on 10 man. Probably overall the raid this time is not like tier 11. I still think tier 11 10 man was harder than 25, and I will live and die by that, because I do think 25 man tier 11 is a lot more forgiving. But
I mean, at this point, we have numbers to back that up now too. Like, if you look at the wipe count, that's something I like to look at a lot, because it shows you kind of the undisputable difficulty of bosses is real raids, how often are they wiping to this to get a kill? And yeah, 10 man definitely has higher wipe counts per boss kills on pretty much everything than 25 man. So you got the data now too.
Yeah, but I completely agree that tier 12 is the opposite. So that's, you know, all of those incentives to encourage everyone to do 10 man is not a good thing. You know, it's fine that 25 is more difficult, it gives more loot, but then you don't want those 25 man guilds feeling compelled to have to go and do 10 man. So like no one has to, you know, even if it doesn't change. Like 25 man guilds, I don't see many of them. They might do a 10 man alongside their 25, you know, so you're getting the best of both worlds. But yeah, all I don't want to see Blizzard do is just mess it up completely when they're kind of there. They're nearly there. They just need to work a way out now to just double the amount of staves that 25 man gets again, or at least in my opinion. That might not be, like, everyone might not agree with that, but it's certainly what I would do.
Yeah, I think that's what they need to do. 25 men just needs more.
Yeah.
All right, are we good with the staff? Everybody
Yeah.
happy? All right. There was a news article the other day for the announcement of pre-raid best in slot guides updated for Rage of the Firelands and Cataclysm. I didn't look at the Boomkin pre-raid set until today, but there was a couple of pieces that were on there that were different just from like the tier 11 loot that we had in phase 1 and phase 2. There was a crafted BOE weapon from blacksmithing that was 365 or something, but it was still our BIS. And there was 2 pieces from the Molten Front dailies that somehow those 3 pieces changed our best in slot like pre-raid gear. So I wanted to ask either of you guys, was there any loot for tanks, subtle, or the 50,000 classes you play, Scotty, that you guys might have noticed that the pre-raid gear was different for you guys?
I haven't really looked at it too much myself, but the Blood DKs do have a new guide writer, Riani. He's great. I don't know if you guys followed it at all, but this summer there was a little bit of controversy because it turned out haste was actually like the best stat in the game for Blood DKs. I made a video about it. The DK Discord was a little split on that. They had somebody there who was like a mod, and their Blood DK guide writer who was very anti-haste. He was not into it at all. And he was much more of that like boomer tank strat where, you just stack parry and dodge and you don't like critically think. And he really, really pushed that, and he ended up getting fired from Wowhead because he was just telling people to do the wrong shit. And so they got rid of him. And so Riani's now in charge of that. He's great.
Nice.
He knows what he's doing. And yeah, I'm really glad about that because, man, like when new players come in, they see the Wowhead stuff. That's like the first thing they look at, right?
Yeah.
So they see the Wowhead stuff, and it's like, disclaimer, haste is actually terrible, when in reality it's your best stat as a Blood DK. And it just sucks when brand new players are getting exposed to that misinformation. And now we got Riani. He's in charge of it, and he's doing a killer job. So
unfortunately, it's not just DKs though, is it? Like,
yeah.
It's great. Obviously, yeah, I love Riani, so like that is, yeah, it's awesome for all DKs. But it is like the amount of times I hear people say, like, is this really my BIS? Like, yeah, for various classes, or should I really be doing this? And I'm like, man, just like you use wellhead guides and that as a very basic. Imagine you haven't played that class before and you just want a quick 30-second explanation, and then use the class discords, talk to other people. There's like, because I don't like when Ghost just said about gear. I've not looked. I know what my BIS is, and I know the exact gear that I want to go for the classes I care about. Yeah, you have to be very, very careful with Wellhead nowadays. That should be the disclaimer that's on the website, not a disclaimer about haste. It should be a disclaimer saying you need to be very careful with our website.
Yeah, well, the thing here too was like they were the WoW head Blood DK writer and a mod in the Blood DK Discord. So like even if you do take that next step of going into the class Discord, you're still gonna get that misinformation going to that next step. So it's just absolutely huge that we have somebody who actually knows the class, you know, in charge of this stuff now. And yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at this Prebis stuff at all, but Riani is in charge of it now. I know he did a killer job on it, so I would just trust whatever Prebis he has on there. I know he's been spending time on it.
I guess it's like what Hadding was saying in chat. They are taking into account that you haven't rated, so it's whatever loot you can get from like the Inferno dungeons. So yeah, that makes sense.
Which is a lot now.
Yeah, maybe
it's kind of insane. Like you can literally get Sinestro loot before you step into a raid.
Since you can't get a heroic weapon in Inferno dungeon or from Inferno dungeons, then yeah, maybe that's why there's a 365 instead of the 372.
Well, is it a separate? Again, I've not even looked. Like, is it a separate list though? Are we talking now? There's pre-raid BIS list, tier 11 BIS list, and then tier 12. Well, I don't know if tier 12 is even on there yet, but do you know what I mean? Are we talking now the pre-raid BIS list is actually for pre-raid?
The
rather
one I'm
than
looking at
pre-Firelands.
now, it looks like it's just phase 3 pre-raid BIS, so it's, you know, entirely Inferno gear basically now.
Yeah, because it's the 359 helm. Like I'm looking at Riani's Blood DK, and it's a 359 helm and 359 shoulder and 359 chest. So like, why would it be the 359 versions if you know like it?
Well, from Inferno's, like you can only get normal tier. You can't get heroic, as far as I know, right?
Yeah, I mean the clue's in the
yeah.
title. I don't want to sound patronizing here, but it's pre-raid, so this is before you raid. Yeah. So it doesn't mean
But it's just weird. I don't know. I don't like the term pre-raid, and when it's after the first raid of the expansion.
I mean, there's people leveling up brand new characters right now, and you know, people coming back that stopped early in Cata and stuff. So it's just like for people who are jumping into the class now, this is the best stuff you can get before you hop into a raid. That's it.
Is it pre-raid tier 11 raids?
Well, no, it's pre-raid.
Tier 12.
No, it's just pre-raid. It's before raiding. Before you raid
tier 11.
That was why a minute ago I said pre-raid or pre-Firelands. Like, there's a difference.
Four Loco's hitting so hard right now.
Yeah, dude, I'm spinning right now.
All right.
So
cool,
it's pre-tier 11. Pre-tier 11.
Pre-raid.
Pre-12.
It's just
it's
pre-raid.
pre-raid.
Like before you step into a raid, just
so I'm still right.
Dungeons only.
Yeah, it's like in Dragon Soul, it'll be updated,
it's
and it'll be like you still haven't walked in any raids. Anyway, let's move on, because Go came up with one good idea and then made himself look like a cock. What was you saying next? Do you want to? I mean, I might make a drink. You've said about drinking, and I've not had one for hours because I had a nap. So you carry on. I'm just gonna make a gin.
The Pip solution agitator price reduced and Dark Moon items transmoggable in Cata. I didn't even see that news. Is there anything to go over there, Subtle, that you noticed?
Yeah, honestly, I don't even know what that is. It's not a tank thing, I don't think so.
Oh, it's a wand. Updated the price.
It's not on my radar.
Oh, that was a thing. I think Scotty had in his video that the wand cost too many Fisher stones.
Oh, so yeah. Chimeron wand.
15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cost 15. Wow, that's super cheap. Holy shit. That's I mean, all this stuff I'm looking for on my characters, it's like 80 because it's, Sinestro loot. So I see this stuff that's like 15. I'm like, damn, it's so easy to gear now. It's nice though. I like that. It's really good for bringing people back into the game because you guys maybe have been looking at the numbers, but SOD actually just passed Cata for player count as far logs. Yeah, logs plus arena. So obviously it's gonna bounce back with Firelands, but it is just unfortunate we're getting these longer phases. We really in a perfect world, we have 14-week phase ones and 12-week any phase after that between raids. The other problem was, they're counting things like ZAZG as a phase, Ruby Sanctum as a phase, a one boss raid, and like we gotta, be a little more realistic about this stuff. What actually constitutes a phase?
Yeah, and I mean, you've only got to look at, like, I was gobsmacked, and I know, like, this is about Cataclysm, so I don't want to bang on about retail too much, but, I was gobsmacked at 11.0.7 going on the PTR. I was like, we've just had BRD, we've got the anniversary event in full swing, like, you've just added so much content, and we're already testing, more content on the PTR. And then we're sat there, like watching people just quit left, right, center, and raid teams fall apart because we're in content too long, which is content that's already been made. That's the thing that blows my mind. It's like they're making new content and putting new content out quicker than they're releasing old content that they've got to do minimal work on. And it's the whole, like, I know they try and I don't know if they do try or they just drag it out for the sake of it, but I like to think the reason it lasts a long time is because they give it time to breathe and they want everyone to experience the content and all of that, but that's not actually helping. Like, when one day they will realize, they'll look back and realize that actually that was the complete wrong thing to do. Because yes, you'd get maybe some dad guilds complain if Firelands came out too quick. And yes, you'd even have some semi-hardcore guilds that, haven't quite managed to get Neff down, and then Firelands is launching. But all it's going to mean is you go in and you do Firelands, and now you've got more options. You'll go in and you'll do Firelands and get some gear to go back and kill Neff. There's no problem with the content actually coming, a little bit sooner, or at least filling it out. This is what I said last week. Like, filling out where there's that drought. So between tier 11 and tier 12, when all we've got is Zolgar and Zolaman, bang a time walking raid in with some catch-up gear. Bang, like a time walking Karazhan where it drops 365 gear. Or, between Firelands and Dragon Soul, bang in a Black Temple time walking raid where it's not that difficult. It's just a bit of fun. But you can get some relevant eye-level gear to help push those guilds over the line so you can then bring the future raid out faster. I look at it and just I look at it confused because I'm like, how can you not see it? Like, how can you not see that you should be putting more content in the game, even if it is just rehashed shit? I genuinely think, say 6 weeks ago, the Cata community would have been like over the moon if they said, look, we're adding. I'm just trying to. Not Zolgar and Zolaman. That's not a good one. I always say Karazhan just because I want to see Karazhan. But something that's like quite easy. Or they said, we're putting in BFD. We're going to take the BFD version out of Season of Discovery. We're putting that in as a 10-man raid. You can get 365 gear. It's there scaled up to 85. Now they're actually taking something brand new that people who haven't played SOD because they play Cata might not have even had the opportunity to see. And they're using it. They're using it, reusing it again. How easy that is from a development perspective to be able to copy and paste that over and make it work, I don't know. But like, that's what I would be doing if I was Blizzard. I'd be looking and being like, shit, we had 250,000 people raiding. Now we're down to like 83,000 or 85,000, whatever it is. Maybe we need to put more content out. Oh,
yeah. Well, I think there's a $90 reason that Cata's not seeing that kind of attention. On retail, I'm sure you guys saw they just put out that $90 mount. First time I logged in, I saw like 15 of them just from the spot I logged in at. Like, people are buying that thing like crazy. That's 6 months worth of sub time. People are dropping on that mount.
Insane, dude.
And the cash shop in retail is just so fleshed out. It is so monetized. That's what they care about. Like, Cata is not super monetized. There's a cash shop, you can do some stuff, but at the end of the day, they're just, keeping it going. And they really want people playing retail, where they'll spend way, way, way more money than on Cata. And it sucks, but It's 100% just a business decision. Like this version of the game, that's I think me and Scotty at least favorite. I don't know about Go, but our favorite version of the game at the moment is Cata, and it just doesn't get that much attention, which sucks because like this is the one we want to commit our time to. This is the main one we want to play. And instead, like retail, which I do like, I raid once a day or once a week, sorry, on retail.
Once a day, fuck me. Hardcore.
Yeah, no chance. No chance. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy retail, but at the end of the day, it's not the game I want to be like my main focus. I like we've talked about before this like middle WoW version, Wrath, Cata, Mop, where classes are fleshed out, boss fights don't last 20 seconds. There aren't an insane amount of mechanics, but there's enough to keep things interesting. That's the version of WoW I like. Those 3 expansions, those are absolutely peak for me. I could play these 3 forever. TBC I can go back to once in a while, but these 3 versions of WoW I could just play forever. And it sucks. Like this is what I love, but it's not a priority for Blizzard at all. I guess just because it's not monetized enough, and the focus is gonna be on retail. We're just always gonna be an afterthought, and Cata releases are just gonna happen whenever they fit best for retail, which sucks, but it's the reality. I just kind of wish we could, get a better content cadence because Cat is definitely suffering because of other versions of the game.
So, see, I 100% agree with everything you said. But they don't even try. That's the only thing I would say is like Cataclysm. Cata is easily monetizable, like to the point where people who are on retail, it would get them to come over and play Cataclysm if they do things right. And one key thing that, trust me, they would see a massive rise in their profit without even shoving monetization down anyone's throat would be Recruit a Friend. If they added Recruit a Friend to Cata, so people can get the Zevra, get the X-52 touring rocket, get the pets that you like, all of these things that are actually unobtainable, but you could obtain all the way back in TBC in original WoW. I would be one of them, by the way, but there would be lots of people like me that would recruit themselves. They would pay for a second account to get triple XP because it's fun. It is just fun to have triple XP. I like it, to me, that's a no-brainer. And yeah, people would end up coming back to the game. I'd be able to get my brother as a prime example. I'd be like, we'll do triple XP, like we'll do Recruit a Friend, and he'd be back instantly because leveling fast is fun, gearing fast is fun, and obviously people would just recruit a friend and recruit themselves or recruit someone else so they can get the mounts and get the the monthly rewards. It's just a massive missed opportunity. Now I don't know if that's just systematically they can't do it, because how does it only count on for classic, and I don't know, but surely that's their job to work those things out, isn't it? So if they actually tried to monetize Cata a little bit more, they could. And the thing is, they could anyway. Like that mount, that $90 mount, if they wanted to chuck that in Cata, everyone would buy it. I'm not saying that's right, but people would buy it, and we're at that point now. It's not classic era anymore. It's not vanilla where any time, like when they added the WoW token and everyone was like up in arms. It's not that anymore. The people that are playing Cata kind of don't care, or I don't, and that's like the perception that I get. I don't think if they added things to the store, like any mounts, pets, anything like that, I literally don't think anyone would be in uproar about it, because it's like, well, we're getting closer to retail. That's kind of the expectation. The fact that it's held off for this long is impressive. I know there's a few mounts on there and stuff, but it's the stuff that they added was the stuff. I think what they done was actually wrong, to be fair. I think the stuff that they added to the store was the wrong stuff because it took away from the fact that you bought the digital deluxe edition. Like the fact that you can buy the things that you got with the digital deluxe editions, like that was a wrong move, a complete misstep, because a lot of people that take classic serious would have bought those digital deluxe editions, and the people that didn't have now got a chance to get it, it should have stayed that you got the digital deluxe edition. You got those items. If you want to put mounts on there, put the Recruit a Friend mounts on, put the Recruit a Friend pets on, put the anniversary event pets on. Like Lil Ragnaros is one of like the sickest battle pets, and we're going to get pet battles in MOP, and as of now, it's an unobtainable pet in Classic. There's things like that where they could monetize it, and especially with something like Little Ragnaros, man, anyone who's even interested slightly in pet battles would buy that. If it was $10, $8, I don't know how much a pet's worth. Yeah.
Speaking of $10, we haven't had a super chat all night, so that is your segue to get the super chats rolling. But we do have the next topic of discussion here, unless Subtle, you had something else to say on the Ragnaros pet.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say really quick, like, I really don't care if they monetize Cata more, like throw some more mounts in the cash shop. I don't really care. My hope would be that would lead to them caring more about Cata if it makes them more money, and then we'd get better content cadences. But at the end of the day, I really don't care that much. Like, if they want to chuck some mounts in there, I'm not gonna buy them. Go for it. Like, I really don't care. Like, hopefully it would lead to, better, more attention for us at least.
The only one I'm with you, I wouldn't buy them. So like, because I've bought them all on my my EU retail account's got like everything from Recruit a Friend, every mount up until I don't know, like 2016, 2017 that was ever put on the store. Maybe even later than that, to be fair, probably like 2018. But I must admit, if they put the Brutasaur in Classic, I haven't bought it on retail because I don't care that much about retail. I play it, it's fun, cool, but that's that's just where I go just to have fun, rather than I don't feel massively invested in it. If they put a Brutasaur in Classic, I would probably buy it instantly. I'm not gonna lie, because being able to access the auction house from your mount is it's pretty sick, isn't it? Let's be honest.
It's pretty good, yeah. Yeah, something like that actually, changes the game. Those are the kind of mounts I wouldn't want to see in Classic, where like some cosmetic thing. I really don't care about that. It's something where it's something so powerful, like accessing the auction house from anywhere. I feel like that does detract from the game, and that's not great. But I mean, at the end of the day, I really just want to raid. And that's what's fun to me. I don't really care if people are on different mounts that they bought while they do it.
Yeah, agree.
All right, Shaman Regalia has
been
changed, but it's changed, and then it's got to get changed again. There's multiple layers of the changing here, because originally the Shaman Volcanic Regalia, the Elemental Shaman 2-set bonus, launched in 4.2 with Firelands. It made it all the way through the phase, and then 4.3 came out for Dragon Soul, and they were like, this scaled too well, we have to nerf it. They made some changes. So now for Classic, that's launching in a 4.3.4 state or whatever, it's launching in the nerfed version of the 2-set. So now they have to rechange the change back to the 4.2 state to make it so it's an 8% proc chance with a 105-second internal cooldown to reset the remaining cooldown on your fire elemental totem. Everybody understood every single word that I just said there. They know exactly what that change was, and everybody's in agreement that it's a good change. And it seemed weird to me because it came out of nowhere. I didn't know that this was even an issue, but I guess Reddit, there was an uproar. I don't really follow Reddit.
Yeah, it's weird seeing a change like this, because it feels like one of those Wrath changes where, in Wrath, Classic Wrath, they kind of had their ear to the ground more, and they were listening to more of the feedback and stuff. And the whole, past few months, it's kind of felt like they haven't been listening to us at all. And then we randomly get this like Shaman change. It sounds super fun for the Shamans, though. I mean,
yeah,
I didn't even know this was a thing until I read about it, but I mean, that looks fun as hell. Resetting your fire elemental cooldown. So I mean, good for them.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I'm with Subtle. Like, I've obviously, as you all know, like I've played various different Cata private servers over the last 10 years. Excuse me. And obviously, because they're always in a 4.3 state, I've never played on one where it's actually got this set bonus in. So like, and I never played Shaman back in the day. Shaman's my least played class. I think that's why I'm loving it at the moment. Obviously, I ended up going from Monk to Shaman even in retail. I've been raiding as a Shaman as my main. It's my best geared character. As Elemental and Resto. Like, I love both of them. And that's what made me go, do you know what? For Firelands, I want to be a Shaman. But yeah, we're not having mass amounts of experience as a Shaman. When I saw this, I was like, man, that's mental. So obviously, like I started digging, and I've found like, videos of original 4.2 where it's in practice and looking at like gauging by just what I'm watching, what talents they're using and stuff like that. And like, it's huge. I was well excited when this was announced, and obviously there was people in chat that did play when I was streaming and looking at this. They did play Shaman back in the day and remembered this. But it's something I've been complaining about when we've been talking about Shaman gearing and Firelands and getting the staff and all of that. I've been saying all along, like, the 2 set and the 4 set is dog shit. Like, it's so bad for Ellie, because like the fight lengths are quite short. So looking at what we would have got, where Lightning Bolt's got a 30% chance to reduce the remaining cooldown of Fire Ellie by 4 seconds, like, on average over a 4-minute fight, you might say Lightning Bolt 100 times, and then so 30% of those, so let's say 33 of them, and then what did I say, 4 seconds? It's going to knock off like 2 minutes.
So you're taking like three minutes off of it, or 2 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, you're not even going to get a second use. It's only the super long
doesn't
fight.
do anything.
Yeah. So this is amazing. I mean, this literally means permanent Fire Ellie without even needing to sub tree spec into Resto. Although I've been looking. So for anyone who don't know, obviously if you go down into Resto, obviously into Ellie first, but then your sub tree being Resto, then your Fire Ellie is up for like nearly 3 minutes. It's like, well, yeah, it's close to 3 minutes instead of 2 minutes. It makes it being a lot easier to be able to snapshot, because you get that extra bit of wiggle room with this new set bonus. But realistically, to get 100% uptime, you don't even need that now. The one thing I really hate with playing a Shaman in Cata versus playing it in retail is a cast time on Ghost Wolf. So for me, this is like double win, because it's like, don't need to go into Resto, don't need to glyph it. I can get instant Ghost Wolf again. Like, it's like wins all over just from this 2 set.
So I was trying to look at all the other tier 12 set bonuses to see if any other set bonuses got nerfed that we might see get reverted. I didn't see any other sets that went through a change other than some like bug fixes where for Boomkin, for example, and Warlock are pets that get summoned. They got changed to where it's not going to take AoE damage or whatever that pet thing is, where they take less AoE damage.
Mm-hmm.
They were taking extra damage and then they got fixed. So I saw stuff like that, but somebody earlier in chat was saying something about a Shadow Priest had the same sort of set bonus like nerf, but I don't remember seeing that. Do you remember?
I haven't seen that at all. What was the set called? Do you know the name of the set for the Shadow Priest?
Regalia of the Cleansing Flame. I looked at Wowpedia was what I was referencing, and I didn't see any changes to it.
They sometimes miss things. Wowpedia is like 90%. They have like 90% of the stuff though. Man, that set is so good for like looking at changes. But yeah, I don't know about that one in particular.
No, me neither.
But this, we could talk about the Shaman stuff first, but I got to get it out there before I forget. This is the part of the show where I was going to ask Subtle about tank changes and the potential we might have of seeing a change in tanks and the relevancy of the tank classes, because there's only 4 of them, and there's only 3 of the 4 do pretty well, but there's one outlier of the tanks that is still pretty far behind the other three. So we've got Blood DK on top by a pretty far margin on like player parses and cooldowns and all that stuff. Then we've got Prot Pally and what's the Feral Druid. Those two are kind of in like second place. You can kind of interchange those, I would say. And then you've got the Prot Warrior at the bottom, and it's still super low. There's like maybe 1,000 like Prot Warrior parses compared to the like 16,000 Blood DKs. So do you think there is going to be a change to the way tanks are like relevant in Firelands, or are tanks going to be potentially untouched?
So I think the best way to look at it is you split it into like main tank and off tank. Blood DK very clearly the best main tank. For off tank, Feral Druid generally the best off tank because it can, do those 1 second taunts for different debuffs. It can, switch on the fly, do a lot of damage when it's not currently tanking. Blood DK is the best off tank on pretty much everything when the tanking part of it matters, though. At the actual tanking part of off tanking, Blood DK is like still just the best. But Feral Druid jumps ahead just with the fact that it can handle those, brief situations where you need a tank for a short amount of time, and then it can jump into DPS. And then like Prot Valley and Prot Warrior, they're both fine. Like for the off tank role, everything is like way behind Blood DK on the main tank role though. For off tank though, they're solid. But I mean, I feel like they're not gonna make any changes. They should, but I don't think they will, because like before Cata came out, they were hitting on the fact that this is Cata with changes. I think it was on Countdown to Classic. One of the devs said, like, we're going to look at the data before we make any class changes. So we need a few weeks of data of like raids before we touch anything. Obviously, at this point, I think they have like 22 weeks of raid data, where Prot Warrior representation has been, I think, around 3%. And apparently that wasn't enough for them to make any changes. So, yeah, at this point, it feels like it's just not going to happen if they have that much data showing like nobody's playing Prot Warrior and they haven't done anything. The fact that they did this Shaman change, this random Shaman change, that kind of gives me a little bit of hope, because, I mean, that is the sort of thing they were doing in Wrath, where they were sort of listening to people and making some changes. But I would put my money on they don't touch it at all. But, I mean, I'm hopeful. There are a few things they could do that would be nice to, level the playing field a little bit. But if you are a tank player that enjoys playing more than just Blood DK, then look for Mop. In Miss of Pandaria, the playing field is much more even. Different specs shine on different fights, and for the most part, you can kind of just play whatever you want and do well. So look for that at least. But as far as Cata tank changes, I don't really think they're going to do anything.
And I think that's exactly why they won't. Well, I think exactly why Subtle said about Mop, because that was going to be the only thing I added to that conversation, was going to be the whole tanking platform and how it works changes, which heavily inspired by DK tanks. To be fair, it's going to change, so it would kind of be a waste of effort, in my opinion, for Blizzard to worry about reworking tanks now for it to then be either reworked or end up exactly the same in Mop anyway. It's like, we knew Blood DK was going to be super strong. It is what it is, and they're going to remain strong. They're going to remain strong all the time. It's just all the other tanks actually all start playing very similar. Like tanking in Mop is the first time I can honestly say that tanking, to me personally, is really fun, because I know you're tanking, but it is like Blood DK now. Blood DK, you're tanking, but you kind of feel like you're pumping as well. Like you're trying to put out damage, self-healing, everything. And that's how all the tanks feel. That's how they all feel in Mop. So I don't know. I'd kind of be against them even wasting time on that now. I'd be like, I'd rather they put effort into mop and made it better.
So, Scotty, I don't know if you've been talking with who Stark in chat, but back to the Ellie Shaman thing really quick. It seemed weird that they were trying to fix a set bonus for the next tier for a class that's ranked 4th on the damage meters right now on logs. I know everybody has their own opinion on logs, but the 4th DPS on logs is getting a buff to their tier set bonus for the next phase.
I'm gonna get the staff and be a pumper with a staff as well. Anyway,
I was looking at a couple of the caster classes that were gonna be able to get the staff, like Fire Mage, Boomkin, Warlock, and Ellie Shaman. I forgot Shadow Priest, but everybody was about 43,000 DPS. So like, I don't know like why they chose, like how did they get to looking at the set bonus to realize like, oh, this needs to get changed. It just seemed really weird to me that they picked that instead of looking at something like Feral Druid that's pretty low on the damage meters. I didn't check their sims. I'm about to check their sims to see if they're doing at least 43.
No,
DPS.
The thing is, like, you're looking at it. I'm not going to say you're looking at it wrong, but you're looking at it from a not the right perspective. You know, they're where Blizzard are coming from. They're not like, oh my god, Ellie Shaman needs a buff, let's give him the old tier set bonus. It's like, if they want people to get to experience Cata as it was kind of still, it's so Ellie at least get to use that tier set bonus for a tier. We know already it's going in Dragon Soul, and they even said themselves that it was very overpowered. You know, it was too powerful in Dragon Soul. Still, that's why it had to change. But it's more, if they didn't do that, then anyone who didn't play Cata back in the day are never going to actually get to experience what it was like being an Ellie Shaman with a permanent fire ready, which is obviously it's going to feel insane. Like, I cannot wait. It's the first time for ages that I've genuinely looked at a blue post and been excited. I was literally saying on stream, I cannot wait to record tomorrow. Like, I was just so excited. I wanted to talk about it. But you know, it would be it would be the same for Feral. It would be the same for Rogues. It would be like for whoever. I reckon if there was a tier set that got changed like that drastically, and people made noise about it, they'd put it in. They're not going to look at who's doing the most damage or anything like that. And there are things I'd like to see like changed. I do really think in Firelands it would be a perfect time to actually make some tweaks. Bring some of those lower DPS up a bit, and Feral DPS is a prime example. Like I was saying about this, obviously my Feral is, absolute full bis, like ready for Firelands, and I love it. I love playing Feral DPS, but it is the most demoralizing shit ever. You know, like I'll be, we'll do a boss, and like I'll feel like I'm blasting. I'll look, and on details I'm like 13th, 14th, and then I look at logs. And it's like, I don't know, 90, I'll be passing like 95, 96, something like that. And then the person who's top on the damage was green passing. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like the, mages and hunters and whatever else, they can just do so much more damage without putting in, without being a 99 passer or whatever, you know what I mean? Playing Feral DPS at the moment is, for me at least, it feels really demoralizing because I am driven by numbers. I want to be pumping, and I want that to show on the damage meters. And again, it does show on passes at the end, which that's something. But I can only really talk about the classes that I play, and out of all of the classes that I play, Feral really feels like it could do with a little bit of a hand because all the others are fine.
Yeah. I just simmed it. It was 39,000 DPS, which is like 4K behind all the casters that I'm seeing that are going to be getting their legendary. So on par with a non-legendary caster, but as soon as that caster gets that legendary, they're jumping ahead.
And obviously, Feral don't get a 397 weapon either. Sorry, so you're stuck with a 391.
Yeah, so I mean, the thing with Feral is they're already the most desired off tank. So anything you do to them, like they're already the best off tank, it's just gonna increase the gap more and more between them and prop allies and prop warriors and stuff for that off tank role. And that's just kind of the tough part about Cata. Like in retail, you have the Guardian spec and then you have the Feral spec, so it's easy to make changes, right? Because like you have an entire other spec. If you make changes on Guardian, it's not going to affect Feral. You make changes on Feral, won't affect Guardian. But we're in this situation where anything you do to affect the cat DPS specifically part is going to affect them as off tanks, since they spend so much of their time in cat form doing their typical role as a Feral off tank. So it's pretty tricky with them. I mean, there might be something they could do, but they would definitely have to do something unique, I think, there.
Yeah, so that is a really good point, though. Yeah, if you've got Feral DPS literally being able to, compete for top of the charts and be able to, off tank reliably at the same time, I suppose I am coming at it more from like a DPS, a pure DPS. So there's ways that they could give a little bit of a helping hand, but obviously we don't need to get into that, because you would tie it around talents, wouldn't you? You'd be like, right, if you haven't got thick hide, where like crit immunity, if you've not got that in talents, then you get this instead, like 10% extra AP or what? Do you know what I mean? So it's like you could do something where if you're not actually spec'd into being able to tank, then you can do something else, like more damage in a way. But
yeah, they could do something where like they increase your chance to be crit by like some new cat talent, so that even if you did have like thick hide too, like it counteracts that. I don't know. I think that'd be the easiest way, because otherwise you have to make it a talent where like you have to take thick hide or that. But I mean, there aren't any talents aside from just running out of talent points. There aren't any talents where you pick this talent and it grays out like another talent. I mean, I guess they could do that though.
Yeah, add like a choice node type thing, like what we have in retail. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Again, it's not something I want to make any drama about. It's just really unfortunate. It's one of those when I absolutely love playing Feral, and I love off tanking as Feral, and DPS in just Feral in general. But it just does kind of suck to be a Feral DPS. If that's all you want to do as a Feral is do DPS, it's just a little bit demoralizing.
So one more thing about the Shaman tier set getting reverted back to the 4.3 state. Should it happen immediately on launch? So it's like, hey, we've got our tier set, and then Dragon Soul gets released, and all of a sudden Shaman are doing less damage. Or should it wait 2 weeks, 3, 4 weeks, and then it gets nerfed, so Shaman have a chance to get their new 4 set before it gets nerfed, and then they can make that transition at that time? Or like it seemed kind of weird, like immediately on Dragon Soul launch, Ellie Shaman's going to get nerfed. Like, how is that going to affect the Ellie Shaman?
Well, like as someone who is going to be playing Ellie, even obviously still in Dragon Soul, I would nerf it instantly. Personally, like just for ease, just for like, it's like, look, you've got this set bonus, but when Dragon Soul launches, it's changing to this. Like that's just so clean. That's what I would do, rather than being like, oh well, now you can do a couple of clears where you got a super overpowered Fire Ellie, and then like the next raid, all of a sudden now Ellies are dropping down massively. I don't know. I think just to keep it clean, it should just be from the start.
Yeah, I think you gotta just do it that way. Just as soon as the phase hits, change it. But I would like to see them just change the old 2-piece to something else, because as we talked about before, with the reduced cooldown, it's effectively a just blank set bonus. Like, it doesn't actually do anything, because it's not going to reset your Fire Ellie Like during a fight, you're never going to get enough cooldown reduction to reset it during a fight, unless there's some crazy long fight I'm not thinking of. Obviously, like Ragnaros would be the only one really, but in Dragon Soul, I don't think maybe there's a fight long enough where it could, but like this is going to be the new tier gear that's on the Valor vendors that everybody's going to be getting, next phase, when they're doing their pre-raid biz farming. And it would be nice if it was just something that had value, since it's gonna next phase be the new baseline pre-raid biz set. So that's the only thing for me, is like it feels bad if it's effectively a non-existent set bonus that it switches back to.
Yeah, and had in napkin math, mate. Like, don't quote me on this, but I was just looking at it roughly, obviously just this morning, and with the glyph, you'd probably get a reset if you was doing a boss that was around 5 minutes, like 5 minutes plus. but yeah, I mean, again, like I was looking at a 4-minute Chimeron kill, and it was like 100-ish casts of lightning bolt, and obviously Chimeron's full single target. So 100 casts, you're looking at it knocking a couple of minutes off. And then obviously you want to get some benefit from it as well. It'd have to be, realistically, you're talking like 6-minute fight, but then by then it would reset naturally to use and get a decent amount of time out of it anyway. But again, that's napkin math. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it would, like any 3-4 minute fight, like you're never going to get it reset.
Yeah, it just feels kind of bad. Like I can't off the top of my head think of another set bonus that works like that, where it most of the time has 0 value. And I think maybe just change it to something simple, like increase your lightning bolt damage by 5%. I don't know, like anything like that.
Yeah, but if you're using the glyph, obviously that is again slightly different. But yeah, it's still pretty dire. I mean, 2 minutes into a fight, you're going to have probably knocked. So 2 minutes into a fight, you've already used it. It's now on 3-minute cooldown. You might have knocked a minute off of it or so. Like, yeah, I don't know. Who cares anyway? By the time we get, you're not going to use it come Dragon Soul, are you? Like, that's the bottom line. Like, let's just enjoy what the set's going to be and not worry too much about how bad it's going to be in Dragon Soul, because you're going to want the Dragon Soul gear. So,
well, we've got a little bit of time left. I've been trying to look up the parse rules for Firelands. I can't find it. Usually I go to the Discord and I can pull it up there, but I've been trying to go through the classic news feed to pull that up. But I didn't know if there was anything interesting to point out with like the parse rules. Like, were they the good changes? Were they bad changes? Sometimes ads are excluded that are kind of important for the boss fight, and if it's not part of the logs, people tend to skip those ads because it's like, hey, it's not going to increase my parse, so like, why am I going to help out on the ad damage? I didn't know if either of you two had the link there.
Yep, if you just
I just sent it.
Oh, cool.
Check that out.
I dragged that out as far as I can. Thank you so much.
I'll put them on screen.
Parsing rules. There we go. So Shanox, remove damage done to Crystal Prison, remove damage done to Rage Face and Rip Limb on heroic difficulty. Rip Limb damage still counts for tanks. Is that a good change, do you guys think?
Yeah, makes sense. You're not killing them, so.
Yeah. I mean, the Rip Limb damage still counts for tanks. I don't know. It's fine. It's whatever. Yeah. Hey, Crystal Prison not counting though is good, because that would cause people to want to do things that don't make sense. Just to try to parse, like everybody's sniping each other on those.
All right, Rylith, no rules. Bethelak, no rules. Liz, how do you guys say it? Scotty, how do you say it?
Well, I say Elish Resort, yeah.
Elish Resort, yeah.
All right, removed from complete raid DPS, boss plus trash and boss fight DPS, and damage all stars. So
That's
you can
because of
parse
the
a 99 on this, but yeah.
Yeah, it's the same as what they've done with Hodir and it, and things like that. Fights where we've seen where there's just ridiculously big damage bonuses for certain people.
Yeah, you probably would have seen some DPS tanking the hatchlings as well to get that 1000% damage amp. Getting externals and popping like evasion and stuff like that. Whatever they had to do to get that 1000% damage amp. So and then obviously with the rings and everything too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, as soon as I did that fight, I was like, this one's not going to count on logs. No chance.
All right, Balrock, no rules. Major Damo, remove damage done to Spirit of the Flame, except for tanks, and only on 25 man.
Yeah, so those are just the little cadets. Honestly, with the strat we've been doing, those don't even spawn. So
Yeah.
I think we are gonna pivot to a different strat, but yeah, even that, I don't know. The tank one's definitely gonna come down to you just want the raid to not attack them, so you can get maximum cleave damage on them. That's what the top blood DK parse will be. Is just the raid lets you cleave at least 2, maybe more at a time.
And then Ragnaros, no rules. And then there's an other category. Using Elizrazor buffs on other bosses is not allowed. The Blazing Power, Molten Feather. So to me, I like raids like this, where there's not really rules that are limiting like what your damage is counting for your parse. But are there ads on any of these fights? Like, would you guys have changed anything?
They're kind of
they're
kind of mandatory ads, though. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I think those rules are, they're perfect, like, in my opinion, because Beftalak ads need to die. People have got to be DPS in them, so they should count towards the pass. What else we got here? Balrock, yeah, irrelevant. Major Domo. I mean, if you're just keeping him in Scorpion, for the majority of the time and just rolling cooldowns to heal through, like, I feel like that's what the majority of people are going to do, especially with more gear. The more gear you get, like, it's just the go-to strat. And Ragnaros the same. I mean, there's nothing on Ragnaros that doesn't need killing. Of course, you're going to get to a point where you have got certain classes that are going to be like having to sit on the boss so other people can nuke the ads down for their pass, like the seeds and shit like that. But that's just what happens, isn't it? I could see stuff like that. Maybe if it becomes a problem, they start removing certain ads from the passes and then recrawl. But at least to begin with, you don't want to encourage bad behavior, do you? In my opinion, that's the thing. You don't want to encourage people to be like, I'm not switching to those ads because they don't count on passes. Like, at least for a while, make sure people are doing it properly.
Man, I remember the week they changed Sinestra whelps not counting anymore. I had never seen those things die so slow before. Like, all the timings were changing. Our tanks were going into the final phase with like a huge stack of debuffs that never fell off because nobody was killing the ads like in between the phase. And yeah, it was just night and day. It's just funny to see, like, as soon as a parse rule like that changes, the ads just cease taking damage.
I mean, it's like in TOGC as well, isn't it? With the ads on Anova at the end. Yeah, where it was like, oh, as soon as you hit that fresh, everyone had a weak aura, literally telling you how much damage you've done to the ads.
400k damage weak aura. Yeah,
and it's like, as soon as I hit that, I'm not cleaving anymore. Like, that's me done. So it does encourage like approaching bosses in the wrong way. So like, I'm all for just keeping it, have everything included to begin with, and then if it starts becoming a problem, then look at it. But
yeah, totally agree. I think you start with, like, these seem fun to start with, and I would imagine basically every ad fight on here gets some changes at some point as people get more geared and they start really min-maxing like some of that ad damage to get the hundreds.
Mm-hmm. I hope there's like a phase 3.5 for the logs. So like, one thing with changes like that. If it's like, oh, 2 weeks down the line something's messed up, let's make a change to it and do a recrawl. I hate recrawls. So to me it's like, let's just give it like 8 weeks to breathe. People can figure out some cheese strats and have some cheesy parses, that's fine. Then do it like a 3.5 and like segregate the different like phases, if you will, for the Firelands parses, and have two separate like categories. So 3.0 you had your parse, 3.5 up until Dragon Soul comes out, that's where the changes come in. Like I would prefer something like that for like a Warcraft logs.
Yeah, the new partitions are always kind of fun because like mid phase it just kind of injects some, fun into raiding at a time when people are starting to, get kind of tired of the raids. Because the week a new partition happens, you can really, clean up on some of the hundreds and stuff because, it's fresh, and some of those long-standing, high roll RNG parses aren't in there anymore, and so it's just kind of a fun time when it gets reset partway through the phase, and you can just have fun going for some parses.
Definitely. I want to bring one thing up before we close, because Subtle's got a raid very shortly, and we should be ending in the next 5 or 6 minutes. So we know that they said that it was going to be about 3 months. We was expecting Dragon Soul in like January, and now they said we kind of like we're going back on that, and we're going to make it last a little bit longer so everyone can enjoy getting the staff and all that. But now they've said like, oh look, you're going to be able to get the staves like really quick, and they've specifically said over a 12-week period.
I noticed that too. Yeah.
What are your thoughts around this? Like, like how long is long enough for 7 bosses? That's the thing, because like Haddin straight away has just said in chat like late March. I mean, that's far too long in my opinion. And he's not alone. Loads of people have been saying March. But that's a long time for only 7 bosses, in my opinion. So like, what do you guys think?
Yeah, so I don't think it's going to be too long. I would hope it would be like 14 weeks tops. But at the same time, like we talked about before, I think it's just going to come out whenever it makes sense for all the other versions of WoW. I think that's at the end of the day when it's going to come out is, when it makes the most sense for retail, and when it maybe even makes the most sense for SOD. Or whatever else they got going on that we might find out about in the Warcraft Direct coming up next 2 weeks. So ultimately, I think it's going to come down to that, but I would hope it's 14 weeks max. And with like Dragon Soul coming out too, we're gonna have a whole like ICC sort of buff, weekly buff system thing coming out, except it's a debuff instead of a buff, and there's 7 of them instead of 6. So in ICC, they did every 2 weeks. If they did it every 2 weeks, I mean, that's, like 14 weeks right there just to get all the debuffs out. Or I guess, 12 because you get the first one right away. But like, how long are they going to have unnerved Dragon Soul for? If they did like 8 weeks of unnerved Dragon Soul and then 12 weeks of like throwing those debuffs until pre-patch, that's still 20 weeks of Dragon Soul for an 8 boss raid. And I don't know, that's a lot. 5 months of Dragon Soul. So I don't know. I would hope with that debuff system though, they do it every week instead of every 2 weeks. Bring that down to like 7 weeks to get through all those debuffs. I think that would be a lot better. And then if you did 8 weeks, it would be 15 weeks total. That wouldn't be too bad. So I'm hopeful it'll end up being something like that. And then we get MOP in, I guess, like July or maybe like early August, something like that.
So the other thing is, with Firelands in particular, obviously we know the first PTR testing, like you said, was just face roll. It just felt like more tier 11 bosses, and then obviously they've gone like more pre-nerf, which is what we're getting. you think they might have kept hold of the build that they done the first PTR? So they might do, a route like we're going to get pre-nerf, and then I don't know, around let's say beginning of January, they then went right. Everything's post-nerf now. Get your rag kill because Dragon Soul's coming next month. Do you think that would be a good idea? So it then, rather than adding catch-up mechanics or whatever, because they still will probably do another round of Inferno dungeon or something, but make then Firelands a lot easier for about 4 weeks or something before Dragon Soul launches.
I could see them doing that, yeah. And like, I think it's kind of rough doing like all of that at once. Like with the ICC buff, it's a gradual change. I think that's a great system actually, because it gives people plenty of time to do it on the regular difficulty. If you can't do it on the regular difficulty, then it gets a little bit easier each week. And that seemed to keep ICC engagement really high, despite SOD coming out at the same time and kind of tanking the numbers. But I think without the ICC buff, we would have seen ridiculously low ICC participation. Having that buff come out, that gradual increase each week, I think that helped a ton for keeping people, active on Wrath. And so, like, ultimately, I think it would probably be good for the game if they did put in the post-nerf Firelands a little bit before Dragon Soul. But ultimately, I really like that ICC system where it's gradual, because it is going to be a very, very huge change going from that post-nerf or the pre-nerf to post-nerf. Like getting all of that at once. Maybe they just throw in like an ICC style buff, because I think that's kind of perfect. Just, slowly pace it, make it a little bit easier for people to catch up. And even for people who have like cleared the raid already, a lot of people are kind of tired of it after 10 weeks or whatever. So make the raid night like really quick and easy, and it definitely helps with keeping people active.
Yeah,
just make the buff stronger each week, like double the strength of the buff, and like do both. Like make it a faster buff, like make it weekly and make it stronger. Like we need to get through this. We need to get the mop ASAP, because I was just trying to look at when I was thinking Dragon Soul would be launched, and it was like May. if I was like reading into things, I'm thinking like May, and that sounds way too far away for Dragon Soul. And then how long is Dragon Soul going to be? I can't even think that far ahead. So hopefully it's not going to take that long. Like a summer 2025 mop would be nice. Are we going to get that? I don't think so. I think it's going to be more 10 months from now, like whatever that is. So like end of the summer, like beginning of fall, like August-ish mop. And
accelerated cadence, ladies and gentlemen.
I know it hurts to say. Like we got a couple of weeks accelerated cadence for Firelands to launch, right? We got like what was it, 4 or 6 weeks, like quicker than the 26 weeks that it took originally. So like it was accelerated, but not by much.
The saving grace for me is the fact that many of us will be playing the mop beta while Dragon Soul's out. I mean, that's the one saving grace for the last phase of Cata. Because I've got to be honest, once Firelands is out the way, I'm going to clear Dragon Soul. Like, of course, I'm going to clear Dragon Soul, but I would much rather be putting my time into prepping everything that like I want to do before mop comes, because like farming Dragon Soul week in, week out for a load of gear that it's just going to be replaced. Like, I will be, when that mop beta hits, like all my time will be on mop. I might carry on raiding on one character a week or something during Dragon Soul once the mop beta's out, but that'll be it. But that probably will come to no surprise to anyone, because it's mop. Like, come on.
The pet farming meta pre-mop is going to be hype as fuck. I hope it's super hype. Like I want to farm pets. I haven't even started looking at it, but I should start looking at it now. Like, what pet do I need to annihilate people that first week of mop?
Well, a lot of them don't get added until MOP, and interestingly, a lot of them don't get added until during MOP. Obviously, we're gonna get them, in a final patch state like 5.4.8, but so you expect them to be in straight away. But yeah, it weren't until like halfway through MOP when they added them to the old raids and stuff like that. So you're probably not going to be able to farm a great deal of like really good ones until the pre-patch. So I wouldn't worry too much. I've already been looking at it.
Damn. Shatter my dream, why don't you, Scotty?
Yeah, I'll send you my list though of the 10 pets that I'm personally going for.
I hope it's the penguin. There was a grub, and there was a mechanical like engineering thing or something. That's what I used to use. I don't know how I remember that. I can't tell you the names of them, but
yeah, clockwork robot or Clockham, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, I'll send you my list. But anyway, anything else to add from either of you?
That's it for me.
I'm set. Yeah, let's get Subtle out of here.
Yeah, well, see us out. Go.
All right, well, Subtle has to raid on retail, the war within. So thanks for joining us here for the, like I said at the start of the show, the 6th or 9th or 15th time on Cata Chat. I don't remember what we used to call ourselves, Cubicle Chat. Yeah, I think you were on back when we called ourselves that. So it was lovely to have you back again. I'm glad to see you back in Cata doing some tanking stuff, because there's not too many Cata streamers, content creators, whatever you want to call us. So glad to have you in this atmosphere and to have you back on the show.
And also thank you for coming on at last minute as well, because I didn't exactly give you a lot of notice. It was like, all right, mate, coming on a podcast tonight.
Yeah, I just woke up to the Discord message. I was like, all right, yeah, I'm free later. Let's do it.
Yeah, man. No, I always appreciate it, and it's always great to chat.
Yeah, Scotty messaged me, and I was out hiking, and I was like, looking at the time, I was like, is Subtle even awake right now for him to ask? Like, what do you mean?
I wasn't quiet, but got around to it. I did wake up. But yeah. Thanks so much for having me. As always, it's always fun. And yeah, it's great to finally have some stuff to do in Cata again, because just the last few months, my raids have been slowly going on break, and I'm at the point now where I don't have any raids that raid in Cata until next week, and then they're all back on, and it's gonna be fun. As I said before, I'll be streaming day one right when Firelands releases. If you want to check us out, We Go is the guild on Ferlina. We're gonna be going in right at launch and clearing everything. So if you want to come in, cheer us on, that'd be awesome to see you guys there.
I'll stick your details in the description. Your stream and YouTube.
Are you still doing the Weekson Tavern? I've been on YouTube. I haven't seen notifications.
Break.
Okay.
Yeah. We kind of took a break, and I just did do a Firelands tank chat with Riani, like 4-hour tank talk. It's got lots of timestamps, so if you want to look at specific parts, you can hop around easily. But on YouTube, Subtle FW, and on Twitch, Subtle FW as well. Just tank content for the most part, primarily focusing on Blood Decay currently. I will have a Prop Alley raid. I raided on Prop Alley most of tier 11 until that raid went on break, and I'll have another Prop Alley raid for Firelands. So if you want to check out Blood Decay and a little bit of Prop Alley, I'll be on that this coming week. It's creeping up on us.
I know.
After all these weeks.
Yeah, we'll have to get back together after Firelands, and we'll talk about our thoughts. We'll get Riani on as well. We'll have get Squirrely. We can have a good group discussion. Get a good group of us on post Firelands. Yeah. We got to stick together. There ain't many of us left playing Cata. we can get every Cata streamer on the podcast. There'll be 5 of us.
The 5 of us, yeah.
Realistically, yeah, we could.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for everyone watching live. Thanks for everyone watching back the VOD. Peace.
See ya.
Just gonna sit here awkwardly.
Yeah. God damn it, Scotty. Why do you do this?
It's YouTube is just the problem child of the streaming platforms. It just it'll cut off, say it's subtle saying bye, and then I'll get loads of shit in the comments again. People going, "Bro, you just cut your guest off." It's like, no, we finished. Like, it's fine.
Nobody watches.
It's good for engagement. Gets everybody to make those comments, about it cutting off at the end.
Yeah, and then the angry comments are normally directed at me anyway. So yeah, it's nothing new.